What is up, y'all? It's your boy Aniki coming at you with another Church of MHA episode. My Hero Academia Chapter 365 live reaction and discussion. You already know how we're going to be doing this season 3, episode 24. We left off in one of the most controversial junctures in this story. Myself having not been too happy with a lot of the fandom thought it was going, but now the fandom itself is unhappy with where the story is going. So we'll see how this goes over the next couple of weeks, but especially with us having a break this week, it's looking like things are going to be very, very spicy, more than likely. But how have y'all been this week? I did my first week at the new gig, loving it. Within a week of working for a corporation adjacent to the automotive industry, I could say very confidently that we should probably invest in more public transit infrastructure because a lot of y'all cannot afford the cars you have, or moreover, the maintenance itself. That's something that I've realized. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's just looking and helping and working in that industry. So, all right, we got Cameron Bailey, White Despair, Black Hope, Austin Morgan, Tiger Blaster, MK the Baby. Please say the baby, Mr. Andrew. Let's see. Yep, I'm glad you can make it too. I always like seeing that name in the chat. Knowing one of my regulars is here. Yes, I will send this message to 313 people. By the way. All right, let's see. Joseph Shiola. Yes. Hey, Joseph, if you need to hop on stream, let me know. Hey, Brendan De La Cruz. Yeah, boy, Zcon too. Okay, yep. See people filing in nice and easy, filling up them digital pews. All right. Let's see what's gonna happen. All right. I know. Let's see. Do we have a break this week? I think we have a break this week. It wasn't originally planned. Yep. New chapter coming in September 19th, which means the next chapter is dropping on a Monday. Hey, what's up, Denzel? Tobu Food. Okay. The fact that the next chapter is dropping on a Monday means that if we do a stream, it'll be a night stream because I work first shift now. So we'll see about that. We'll see if the church is down to do an evening mass of sorts. Let's see. Part of me just wants to kind of hop right into this. You blame East. All right, since East is being blamed, I'm gonna go ahead and just hop into this chapter. Let's see. Yeah, we had 21. So I'll go ahead and read this. Let's see what's going on. All right. Ed Shot's quirk, fold the body. It allows him to stretch out his body, making it thin and spindly. After years devoted to training his quirk, he can now make his body even thinner and squeeze it tight enough to stop gushing blood, as thin as a spider's thread. Wash was good enough to give me one of his bubbles with us. Zoop. If you remember, they specifically mentioned that Wash's hero was a hero that was designed, had his bubbles were like cleaning and sanitizing, and they were able to like kind of clean anything. And considering the fact that during PLW, as the hospital was collapsing around us, we had rubble and all kinds of stuff falling all over the place. Wash managed to live. Those bubbles have already established a very high sense of durability, so I'm not going to complain about that. As thin as a spider's thread, I shall sterilize my own body before infiltrating the boy's innards. He can stretch his body out as thin as a surgical suture, however. Genus did his best to suture this, but he could not stop the bleeding or repair all the internal damage. His lungs are also injured. This body of mine can mend each organ inside and out while aiding cardiopulmonary function. I shall revive his hearts and lungs from the inside. Oh, and this title of this chapter for number 365 is number 4, number 5. So I'm guessing this is going to be a very pro-hero centric chapter. Let's go. I shall revive his heart and lungs from the inside. Keep fighting, Genus Mirko. The villain's wounds show that your efforts are not in vain. Win the day, regain consciousness, come back to life. Remaining in this extreme state slowly but surely eats away at Edshot's life. That one, I already destroyed that one. Why not? Okay, we get the NBA flashback. Let's see, why not destroy everything? Gotta destroy, must stop, which we get the cutbacks to PLW, the itch, gotta destroy the itch. I already, and we see him building up his arm, destroyed that one, and then, okay, number 5 coming in. Let's see, he's moving in on Genist, gets a nice kick to the jaw. Like as he went in, you're that eager to get crunched. What did you say? Let's see. Oh, snap, is that? Yeah, that's a mouth forming on there. Let's see. That's looking like a bit arm. It is. Let's see. Let's see. That's looking like somebody's arm got chomped. Make sure I didn't get an important message here since I got a text during stream. And normally nobody does that unless it's important. Yep, thumbnail. I'll be adding that possibly midstream or later. Let's see. All right. All right, and that's another arm down. All right, so you're that eager to get crunched, bites off the arm. What the, did I just stagger a little with this body? That's not possible. I haven't felt real damage. No, wait. The explosion to his face. There's a chance, okay. The implication here could be that the explosion that hit him in the face also damaged his hearing, which means that his inner ear canal is possibly off balance. What gives, Mirko, what gives, huh? You're so gentle, Mr. Demon Lord. Let's see, fighting with one arm, or sorry, with 2 nubs for arms. And it looks like she's got her prosthetic still. That last hit I took. Oh, it's the return of the blinder eyeball touch. The move that he fainted Midoriya with when we got introduced to his fighting style. Eyes on me, chump. I'll die when it's my time to go. That did sting a little. Have I taken on too much damage? No, none of it's been that bad, in which case impossible. When I panicked back there, was I actually feeling threatened? Me, menaced by some background extra? So what I like about this is that, okay, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Those of you who have been watching, yeah, I figured. One of the things that I kind of figured, and this goes back to those of you who've been watching since, for a long time, I remember during the 362 stream where we got the explosion buff panel and the explanation, I was like, nah, this is weird. Why would we bring this back? Why would we emphasize? I was like, why would we emphasize him getting an explosion buff? The connections to the second user and how it made All For One or Shigaraki feel pressed, activating that post-traumatic stress disorder, creating a memory of himself, or rather him basically having a flashback to a time somebody applied pressure to him. And I was just like, nah, this don't track. It's not logical. It doesn't really work with what horror usually does writing wise. And now we're kind of seeing we're about to get build into that payoff of that. Thomas, that's okay. I don't really talk to people in the ghetto reverie like that, but also I doubt that that's actually what happened. So, but yeah, we had talked about this. It was really weird. I know a lot of people were excited and thought we were killing a kid finally, which I really wish y'all would say that out loud in the mirror and realize how kind of weird that sounds. But we're actually going to get payoff for the plot that was established within the fight instead of just cutting the plot lines that were established during the fight short. As far as I'm concerned, that's a way better writing decision than randomly giving him a buff, creating that flashback, not handling any of the similarities between him and the second user, and then just being like, yeah, but he's dead. That, to me, that would be kind of lazy and not worth it, especially since that would be the first time a character who had a similarity to another character had zero narrative focus on it that they were aware of. It would be a case of fulfilling to the reader, some readers unfulfilling for the actual characters, and it depends on where your investment is. That determines kind of how you've kind of felt about that. Now, he told me to win here, so I'll make good on that. Mirko, do not go quietly. I ain't about to check out from the game of life with the regrets left on the table. Luna Rush, bringing back the similar combo that she utilized against the hallway full of Nomu. Let's see. More flashbacks. Mirko. Let's see. We got Mirio. We got Sun Eater pulling up. Nigeria. It looks like she's finally getting back up off the ground. You know, she hadn't been gotten. Even though I already destroyed them, and now we're getting flashbacks to, you know, to little Shimura's family with the grandma, you know, grandpa. It looks like us seeing flashbacks to the old lady who left him behind. And then let's see. Yep, little Tanko having to deal with his guilt. I wasn't broken back then, but it's not like anybody reached out a helping hand to me anyway. Let's see. All right. The more my body adapts to the legion of stockpile quirks within, with various environmental factors, my body is searching and groping around for its ideal form. It's not like anybody would even look at me. And suddenly he starts forming whole people. Which kind of lets me believe that Shimura might be having a lot more influence over the manifestations. And you notice that Shimura, when we were getting these cuts to the internal version or the young version of him within the vestige realm, he consistently had darker hair. And as he's reliving these traumas, as he's going back, that Marie Antoinette syndrome is kicking in while he's within the vestige realm, allowing his hair to whiten, allowing him to start to experience the trauma, showing those symptoms of the madness increasing. And with the recreation of what it looks like to be some of his family, possibly, it's very likely that part of his body reaching for its ideal form is also looking for, in essence, what would have been the better or ultimately the right life for him. So in turn, by recreating family members here, he's kind of giving the child in him a second chance, which we've known that Tomura Shigaraki is an amalgamation of lots of trauma that's heavily unresolved. So seeing this and finally seeing quite literally the traumas manifesting and taking shape will be kind of interesting to see how this goes, because he might genuinely be trying to recreate his family here, similar to, and what would be the logical next step in this story, depending on how Hori wants to slice it, would be having him slowly recreating lumps that look similar to the League of Villains, as this is his family from his origin, but we could see the family that Tomura Shigaraki, not Tsuneko Shimura, made, and a resemblance of them, which also, interestingly enough, kind of ties into what Twice was doing, you know, when he was fighting Hawks and generating those clones, talking about his friends and family that he had found. So the reason why we haven't gotten, it seems like the reason we haven't gotten the Twice connections and stuff that we kind of expected for a long time is that ultimately Hori has been saving it for a time where he could instead highlight these characters and their relationships. Hold on, let me switch my camera back because but okay, probably good. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here, is tapping into that found family and also kind of manifesting the things that Tomura wanted that would have made him happier had he actually had access to them. Whereas now he's sitting in this position where nothing's really going on. He's not getting what he wants. He's kind of separated. His gloomy adoptive father has attached himself onto him and is basically trying to supplant him within his own body. Let's see. Oh, I wasn't even on that panel. Granted, if I would have been on that panel, I would have gone brazy, but we'll see. Let's see. It looks like Tinkle was completely in control this chapter, or at least almost completely, since his thoughts of, even though I already destroyed the lines up with the body, saying I already destroyed that one earlier in this chapter. Just push AFO back. We don't need two FOs. Makes it seem like Tinkle was the one talking, controlling the mouth. Well, that's the thing, is that to a certain degree, when you think about the way that All for One has fostered Shigaraki, what Tomura Shigaraki really is overall, Tomura Shigaraki is a coping mechanism. Tomura Shigaraki isn't exactly, like, he is both a person but also a coping mechanism. And when part of your existence is built on lies, and part of your existence is built on, misinformation, deception, and ultimately unresolved trauma, the closer you get to resolving that trauma, there's a chance that part of you begins to fade away. And I think that's kind of why Shigaraki is constantly being jockeyed around, because ultimately he was a tool from his inception. Tomura Shigaraki was originally a shield, barrier, protection, a way to kind of avoid that accountability, similar to Sensui for killing his family back in the day. And now you have Melvin forming, which is another attack on that identity, where whether or not Tomura Shigaraki is right or wrong, whether or not his existence should even be, is a question of his character arc. Because in Gran Torino, it seemed like for a lot of people, he was just talking that mess when he was like, your very existence is wrong. But when you think about it, Tomura Shigaraki is quite literally a personality born out of effectively just lots of trauma. His existence is the byproduct of the flaws in hero society and society as a whole, because ultimately, whether or not there were superheroes or not, a homeless child covered in blood shouldn't have been able to walk in the streets and have nobody reach out to them. Like, that just shouldn't have been the case. Let's see. All right, let's see. We got Walkins and Archbishop Easton here. How y'all doing?
You're
good. Doing all right.
Yep. So White Despair, Black Hope. Yep. And I think that was kind of one of the things to let us know that, one, that there would be like personality melding here. So ultimately, the final form that we get out of Tenko, Shigaraki, whatever, is going to be all three of these personalities finally converging, because Tenko cannot handle the guilt of what he's become and where he has gone in life. Even if he's trying to be angry, lashing out, that overall empathy that he was fully capable of as a child, that led with him playing to Outcast from jump, is going to make it where he's not going to be able to reject his future self or All for One for taking care of him, because All for One was helpful at least, whereas, the people he trusted who were supposed to be followers of All Might were not, even though he originally loved All Might, which is why he is still comparing himself to him, like, power level wise. Since we're still on this battlefield, it just likely means that we're not going to leave it until Bakugo is conscious, and we're going to get a round 2, basically. So that'll probably be where that gets left off, even though I kind of expect All for One to kind of clean things up at the Gunga Villa hideout and arrive to this battlefield. All right, Issa, what's your thoughts on this week's chapter? Because I know you got something to say.
actually, for once, no. The bubble is what I got to say is this nigga need that break, because he obviously get a little bit loosey goosey, because the bubble is something that's very strange to me because this nigga usually has more setup. But it's when somebody says something very interesting that I do have to give them credit to, and that this is a bigger discussion in that nobody flinches when the villains pull out they backup cards, but it's different with the heroes, and that's because of screen time and how much capabilities you put. So Horikoshi basically put going into this war, he basically put the stock in the biggest events. So the gathering of allies and the support items and shit like that. With like littler stuff is like this. Well, all right, everybody packing out and pulling out their aces. So the bubble ain't a big deal to me. Not many people just brush past that. In the case of Katsuki, I don't have much to say about that. He was dead. They reviving him, but then you know how you gotta go deep into for that. You gotta go deep into the medical bag and talked about the resuscitation and the loss of oxygen to the brain, this, that, and the other. And it's like you said in the church the other day. Essentially this is all happening within the frame of a couple of minutes. But I already said my piece on how that could have executed a lot better.
That's why I always, like I said, yeah,
it could have been it. The main thing on this entire situation is just execution and bouncing around. But I see what he's trying to do with the little hope thing. But if that was the case, you should have kept it stuck to the hope or them trying their best before you had the villains go back on round two talking about violation and everybody on the run back. But I see because the importance of the last chapter was the heroes have to fight tooth and nail. And the thing about the kids dying is that a lot of people didn't have them. Nobody really needed that. I almost the one in a dangerous situation. I just said niggas had to get fucked up. Now Koski dying was more so an end thing to me, and it's a little bit more of an end thing to me. Like, okay, maybe if or how does that get away type beat, and like, oh, okay, this is like just a theory, but they bringing him back for this. But the trade off is okay, somebody giving their life, so it's not just all right, we get out scot free card. So at least somebody giving their life for the trade off for that. But the most interesting thing to me, the main thing I just want to talk about, only thing I want to talk about is mainly just the fact that the Tinko and Shigaraki thing. Y'all need to realize Tenko is actually more dangerous than Shigaraki.
I mean, Tenko is an unhinged ball of just emotionality.
Exactly. Taking the effects that Shigaraki at the time of Overhaul, he showed restraint in their first meeting. Hey, don't talk about other series right now. Chat. Don't talk about other chapters. We only talk about MHA here. Everybody talk about other chapters. But anyway, the main thing was that like y'all don't realize like Shigaraki showed restraint in the Overhaul when they had killed Magnate, but he was still pissed about Magnate because he even said that, right? Mm-hmm. But that's Shigaraki showing restraint as in growth. You don't get like that's if you had an adult a gun, they can make logical, more rational decisions. If you give a child a gun, you see what happened when you give a child a gun. He literally killed his whole family because of his outlash and his rage. And he already said, yo, I kind of knew what was going on by the end of it. And when my dad, I just really just killed that nigga. That's what it was. So It's like you give a child a gun and they enact on their rage, they temper tantrums, they're a lot more dangerous. That's why he kept lashing out. Even now, you see, y'all turn y'all fucking backs on me. Nobody wanted to help me. Nobody could even reach a hand out to me. But yet, this nigga is dead and you're sacrificing your life or to revive him. Nobody can reach a hand out to me. Fuck y'all type niggas. So I see why we still here, although I'd rather be elsewhere because this battlefield has the least tension to me because we know Shigaraki just gonna regenerate. And that's why a lot of things like when people talk about, oh, they didn't do the much or I'm not really feeling it, it's like you do realize at the end of the day, no matter what they do, he's just gonna regenerate, right? Because he can't fight Deku. We can't rerun back the cripple shit again because that's just gonna be bullshit again. Holding Shigaraki after everything that's been happening in this final act. So he's just gonna get nerfed and hold again with like half his quirks again. It's like, all right, how much tolling you gonna do? And back taken now. So it's like he's just gonna regenerate. So that's why the other battlefields are more entertaining per se. But I see that in order that now that we're in Act 2 of this damn arc, we need to goddamn set up everything. So by the time Deku and All For One get here, it can flow through. So it's just growing pains. On the bench, anybody else be eating this shit up. But since we're going through the growing pains and emotions, is that we gotta set up all the tinkle coming to the surface, it being a hindrance and all the personalities merging, et cetera, et cetera.
And I real quick want to address something Tanisha pointed out in the chat. Helping a runaway can be basically get you charged as a kidnapper in Japan also. So there's kind of that extra factor of like if somebody if a child is lost and you take them into your home, it can be perceived as you kidnapping them instead of it just being like I'm helping to run away. So there is that legal issue too there. So, but yeah, the Sekente stuff is wild to look at culturally.
Yeah, I had something like to say about the wash bubble, because you know what I'm saying, the wash bubble is just something I roll my eyes at, but it's something I actually do want to talk about. Like, so Wash is in the top 10, like we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be like the best support hero, right? So that actually shows a lot of his character, that he would give people bubbles like that.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I just kind of was like, all right, yeah, that, because the way I look at it is kind of what East was talking about earlier with we spent a bit more time talking about the setup of like the major players. And to a certain degree, if you think back to like what Dobby said, he's like, this war is about the people involved. And we got emphasis on certain individuals, groups of people specifically. It's one of those things where I think this is like a catch-22 writing wise, where when you think about it, if Wash has the ability to sterilize things and they are aware that they are going into battle and that this is going to be a war, people will get injured inherently.
Why would he not give people, you know what I'm saying, things to like, so it makes sense to me, but like he said, it could have been set up better. He could have shown some of Wash's character with that, which would have been cool, which, you know, is still being done in hindsight.
Yeah.
Like, Wash had the foresight to do that.
It's one of those things that like we spent random time like watching Wash hand out bubbles. Then it's like, well, when's those bubbles gonna come into play?
Yeah, and then that's the thing too, because then we get back into the whole it's never enough type beat with MHA, which for some reason it's always that case. So it just been like, even if it was a smaller panel, right? Like say Horikoshi's like getting everybody a montage type beat, like you got like 10 panels and everybody's doing something, so you see the setup for that. Then it would have still been like, all right, but well, they should have explained this better. We should have got like a whole panel and 2 pages of him doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, you know, it would have came down to that. So like I said, it's not a big deal. It's something you can just really like, all right, cool, bubble. And then like, a bubble, like, you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, all right, wash out a bubble. That's pretty smart. Makes sense. Cool, keep it pushing. They were preparing. So it's like, all right, kind of makes sense. Now we were like, okay. They know he could do that, but it makes sense.
Now I'm curious.
Yo.
Hey, Bonzu.
How are you doing, guys?
Sorry, all right. We're discussing the nature of like Wash's role in the story and the catch-22 that is, because to a certain degree, what I also don't want, and I don't mean this like in a disrespectful way, I don't want my hero to go the One Piece route where we spend a bunch of time setting up small things that it's like, oh yeah, that's all this was for. Oh yeah, that's all this was for. And boy, you have these like bloated chapters sometimes where it feels like there's a bunch of stuff that's being talked about. And then you get another thing where you're like, oh man, we could have spent time on this. I wish this would have been fleshed out instead. And so like the Wash bubble to me is just like immediately, you know, like we said, you can kind of be like, oh yeah, Wash is a top 10 hero. He was smart enough to be like, oh yeah, let me make sure people got this before they go on the battlefield, because it doesn't make sense to send people into war without proper sanitizing equipment.
Or
but
like
you can't just
shoot.
Yeah, like but you can't guarantee that your first aid kit is going to stay. And like I mentioned earlier, when I saw the bubble, it's weird, but at the same time, objectively, Wash's people survived. Wash had multiple people in like hospital beds and all kinds of stuff floating in bubbles when the decay wave went through, and Wash lived, which means all those other people likely lived too. So those bubbles could handle decay. All right.
I mean,
like I'm not gonna hold you.
That boy been there. I mean, I've been said like, that's why when people kind of killed that nigga off in the war, I'm like, you know, nigga top 10, right? Like
you was one of the main niggas defending him.
I was like, bro, all he has to do
Walkins speak. He was. I thought he literally. I thought with Walkins last time because I said hello. So, yeah, Walkins, you wanted to say something when I said?
Oh no! Only thing I was gonna say was, I'm curious how many bubbles were given out and to who, and how many we have at each battlefield.
So I'd wager it was probably like one per, like one, I'm gonna say it kind of came down to which, like how many people were expected to be sent to this battlefield. Like it suggested he only gave them one bubble because they had like one opponent. And it was, you know, heroes 3, 4, and 5 plus Deku plus Bakugo plus the big 3 here. Like any other hero, like villain or hero really that pulls up to this particular battlefield, there's a chance to actually struggle pretty well. So, but like, for example, the Kuneda battlefield or the one where Dabi's at, there might have been more bubbles. The bubbles ain't helping, but
No.
there might have been more bubbles at the Dabi battlefield.
B-Mac,
I was gonna say they actually don't need bubbles over there because they got 5 wee wee man. He got the first 8 on him at all times.
Yeah. B-Mac, they didn't really need that at the mansion because they were so overconfident. See, they had the upper hand. They had the element of surprise, which is a super big element. Like I'm trying to tell you, nobody can just you don't just get like you don't just pop off and just start shooting back. Like you gotta be ready to like shoot. You gotta be ready to fight. You gotta like they can just come up and stock your shit. You're gonna be caught off guard. You gotta get prepared for that shit. So like
you have to be ready mentally.
Yeah. You can't just like cause you come. That's what a sneak attack is for. That's why sneak attacks are so effective and surprise attacks. It's like what the fuck? Like how off one did and Dabi did with the run back and Shigaraki doing his arm shit catching up our guard. That's what point of sneak attacks. They was like, all right, we got these niggas. They can only do this, and then they do this. It's like, oh shit. But like with that sneak attack, they had them niggas like basically bare ass out. It's like everybody gonna be here. Here we know this nigga build, the main. Like they was like they had them niggas down to damn near a T. So like that's why like they didn't need that. It was like, bro, we got the numbers. We can match these niggas. We can take them out. Like they were good last war. They just fumbled the bag.
The only one who really knew how dangerous they was Hawks.
Yeah, because he was in the trenches.
Well, yeah, I wanted to address something that Sayas has said last week, which we see this chapter when she was like, "Oh, like this is the first attempt of somebody like trying to save Bakugo." So we see Genus was trying off the rip, like he was trying off the rip. There's already like stitches and shit in there, so Genus was doing his thing. It wasn't enough to save him, so Headshot pulled up, but Genus was trying. So I give props to Genus.
Yeah, he still got to go, but yeah, that nigga, that cockroach, been here too damn long.
Look, my stance on this is like we at a point now where we're watching at least one hero slowly lose every limb on their body. Like this other leg is only a matter of time, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you. I thought that shit was already gone. I'm like,
yeah, that's what I thought too.
Bro, her death. I'll say this: her death gonna be satisfied because there ain't no way this did, unless they only way.
What if Horikoshi do her like somebody did Denji and Chainsaw Man and just holding him by the head like no nothing.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, bro. The only way I'll let her live and slide is if that goddamn. It's really like that one meme I saw with the art they did with this like the cyberpunk shit, and it was talking to the kids, and she was like basically Full Metal was like, "Get up, heroes! It's time to get the job done." So shit like that. I'm like, all right, all right.
He grabs, this might be a little too savagery, but if he grabs her by the hair and she has no legs and no arms, that would be raw.
So real quick, I want to address Joseph Sciola, which special shout out to Joseph Sciola. Going through some tough times. Make sure y'all send us some love in the chat.
Yeah.
But he came through with the super and said, "I can live with the watch this magic bubble because not even addressing sanitation when doing this would annoy me infinitely more. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't bring it up because I was like, no, that would be nitpicky as hell. But I agree. Actually, I was thinking about that. Like, he's like, pretty covered in dirt, bro. And so, but I know people sometimes feel like I'm being too realistic focused when talking about MHA, even though.
Can you read Tyler Hawk's comment too right after that? That's hilarious.
The bubble thing reminds me of Horikoshi arguing with his editor over Toga being naked to transform, and Hori is like, she can't get dressed that fast. Hori is very meticulous sometimes at random times. I would say he's often more meticulous than not. It's just that a lot of it is in such a good place that it doesn't feel like he's being really meticulous until you get to a situation like this where you're like, okay, come on.
Yeah, I was like, all right, bro, you know, we already off the deep end at this point. You already got a nigga going inside somebody else's body and fucking bringing them back to life. Like, I was like, all right, we already off the deep end. What do it matter? Throw the bubble in there. It don't matter.
Mm-hmm. But The other thing I like, so how do y'all feel about the fact that we are getting confirmation though that like Bakugo, even that smaller explosion he did that tagged him in the face, like this buildup of damage, like, because this man has been talking about, oh, I'm All Might level, I'm All Might level.
I'm 50-50 on it right now. It's not that attack did damage. I don't care about that attack doing damage because that was a blitz. Like he blitzed him. He caught him lacking. My issue mostly is that is like the only attack that's getting emphasis, not like the howitzer cluster, not the plasma cannon. Like those two major attacks aren't
I'll let the howitzer clutch slide because that literally burnt that half of that nigga face off. And I think he was just like, he said he didn't feel damage, but he was taking it. I'm assuming he was accumulating it to a certain degree because he don't have regen, right? So at the end of the day, even if you don't feel anything, you still have to accumulate, right? So that means like Maki, let's say he can't feel damage, but if niggas kept throwing nukes and like bombs and all types of shit at his fucking leg all day, eventually that shit's gonna, break even if he can't feel it or not. So he's accumulating some form of damage over time. But my thing is, he blew that nigga face off, and I think Shigaraki was just talking big shit. He didn't feel it, but
it's comparable to the Straw Hats versus Oars. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Thriller Bart, but basically there's a point where they end up fighting a giant zombie. And when I say giant, I do mean giant. Like we talking hundreds of feet tall. But because he's undead, he can't feel any pain. So what they do is they like slowly break one of his weak points down while he can't feel it, so that his body starts shutting down anyway. And then all of a sudden he can't like move one of his arms and some stuff, and he's confused about it. And it's like, well, just because you don't feel the pain doesn't mean you're not getting broken still.
Yeah.
And pain is a tool for survival.
They basically broke his spine so he couldn't move.
Yeah. So it's like, he was cocky because he was like, oh, I can still move, and the howitzer, it blinded him in one eye, burned off a lot of stuff. And I think Hori feels like he already acknowledged it because, Shigaraki did the whole monologue on the attack and was like, that's why this has gotta go, and broke his arm. So it's like, he already talked about that. So the fact that he didn't mention it here is fine with me, because more than likely, let's be real here, an anime is probably going to highlight multiple attacks from him anyway, especially since he was afraid of the one blast.
That plasma cannon got hold though.
Hey,
that's what got hold.
It's to let you know that the new big three is Bakugo, Shoto, and Deku.
Yeah,
they lost their throne already. It is what it is.
Yeah. Also, like, his family coming back was really well set up, because we see the same panel this chapter with the flashback. Kotaro's face was there when he tried to snuck Bakugo. Like Kotaro's face been there, so he's been trying to like at least Kotaro. Which do y'all think these are going to be sentient or just this meat puppets? Like where's this? Because if they're sentient, that's when I think we could really see like where he's taking this. Because if they are sentient, they're gonna be based on like Tenko's perception of them, though.
Yeah,
it might be something like it was with vigilantes, with those like exploding.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, what the fuck were they?
Those things. Like that's where my mind's going with it. I also had a thought that what if each of them had like a different quirk, like Shigaraki was able to give them something.
See, that would work more so that he had the quirks, but then him not having the quirk and then him dishing out. It kind of works, I guess, because he does have quirks, but I guess it's kind of nullified. But if the eyes are not on all the little extra mutant bodies.
Somebody was saying like that these could be just like meat puppets, and he uses them like just to fight the heroes. He uses them to go take out Monoma and Aizawa, like,
which is fine. Yeah.
If they're sentient, like that Kotaro is going to be the biggest asshole we've ever seen in this manga, even more so than the real one.
That Kotaro is gonna sound awfully like AFO and Kotaro at the same time.
And the officials blocked it out a little bit because of the wording, but he is making the old lady too. Who was on the street.
That's what I thought I was seeing. That's why I was like, wait. and we got her emphasis in that panel. So it's like he's making everybody who he feels like let him down.
See, this is why this is like. See, that's why this is the most important and best part of the chapter because, like I said, see, this is what I got to say. Fuck you. And if you don't know who I'm talking to, you'll come back to this stream in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Fuck you. And you know what I'm saying? Fuck you. Because you get to read this shit when it's clear as day, a binge. You don't have to wait excruciatingly. We probably won't get to conclusion and all this shit make a complete full circle and a full vision until next year. Probably halfway to next year, like June or some shit. Because all the other shit we got to do. So somebody out there in the future don't know nothing about this series. They're just gonna read this shit and they're gonna be like, oh man, this is great. Reading it volume by volume, day by day, and they don't have to fucking wait. And they can binge this whole war in like a fucking day or more. And it'll all make sense. Cause I'm seeing it's like I said, I don't agree with everything he do, but I see a point to it. Even if I wanted certain things like Tokiyama get a 1v1 or a team battle, but they fight an all for one, which has more narrative weight. So you gotta be very cautious of how you move a certain character because this character gotta go here and there, right? Instead of just giving them like a fight with gases, some shit like that, right? So in this case, I'd rather be somewhere else, yes. But this is important for Act 3 because we're beginning Act 2, important for Act 3 overall, in that this is all setting up more so Tink. You can really get Tinkle's true feelings about everything coming out to the forefront, and then Deku can have his, I say Tinkle, but Shigaraki's still effectively here because it's so weird how these niggas are one and the same, but you can't have one out the other. But it's a Copelandism, but Shigaraki still exists because Tinkle did what the fuck he did. It's like, yeah. I was like, at the end of the day, All For One, no matter how y'all try to blame it and put it, All For One made this thing give it to his primal urges completely. On its own, he killed his family. No one else is responsible for that other than Tenko. He may be a child, but he committed the crime. He killed his family. Even if, let's say the bullshit of, let's say he got the court decay. That wasn't All For One saying like, it's like if I give you a gun, I didn't tell you to shoot a nigga. You shot a nigga on your own. I didn't insinuate nothing, none of that. But he already know he had the K on his own.
And we ain't even going for that on the church that he gave him the K right now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, regardless of anything, bro, he did all this shit on his fucking own. He killed his family. He did that. So it's like, it's interesting that when Deku comes and tries to reach out the hand, like, you know everything you kind of know.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, yo. I'm actually a little scared for Deku now because that's not the Tenko that I was expecting him to run into right now.
That's what I'm saying. All this is like I see this now because when Act 3 comes, it's gonna be real swift. We're getting to Aizawa, getting that shit because he's not fighting Deku without quirks, and he's going. Yeah, you
go. One of the things about that decay thing that I've always found weird is that All For One has consistently made it sound like it is because of decay that Shigaraki was a viable candidate. Like the quirk decay and his physiology was special. And so the only way we could justify All For One giving him decay would be some Aizen level. Kotaro's wife was actually a part of the AFO cult, and he stuck that shit in the womb type beat or something like that.
Basically, that forced him to be a
like
baby.
You would need like that level of experimentation that we got out of like Ichigo, which I guess I wouldn't be mad because like a lot of the shonen tropes apply to the League of Villains more than they do the actual heroes, but like
see but at that point it's like I kind of like, all right, we overdoing, like it could just be simple that like he had it. And then more so to the fact that they using this nigga as like, you were the ultimate one. You the ultimate, like, yo, you had everything we needed. It's like they even make Shigaraki even more special because especially when he triumphs over these niggas and be like, yeah. And
they consistently say like, yo, you surpassed our expectations. Like we didn't even expect you to be like this. I will say though, I think Horikoshi used that whole Aizen All For One type moment with Dabi because him just walking on that mountain. with no context, like that Toya's burnt corpse, and then All For One with the hat just walking out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think he used it over there. Hey, Mega, what do you mean? We gonna see the fights. Like he not gonna skip a whole entire battlefield. Don't worry about that. Now there will be one exception, but it's about the execution of it. Because like we were talking to VC one time, like if the execution was a portal had opened up and then we cut back, right? It's like, oh shit, wait, is that Kuragi or like something doom impending because it'll have to be on the villain side, like what, like the ground shaking, like how Makia pulled up, or like the portal open up, like is that Kuragi, like type beat, and then we cut back to like, all right, 10 minutes ago, or like this is what happened. That's okay, you know what I'm saying? But no battlefield, I promise you, no battlefield finna get. Don't let stuff you don't like overshadow and just place a negative connotation on everything else. One decision here don't affect. It's gonna be bad right everywhere else. Like that's two different things.
One thing outside of the story that's always kind of like intrigued me about Shigaraki. This goes back to what like Aniki was saying earlier about the coping mechanism and how he became Tomura Shigaraki. In the Ultra analysis, like it's emphasized like his real name is Tenko Shimura. His villain name is Tomura Shigaraki. Like that is his villain name, his villain persona, like his villain personality. Like that is what it is. Like, but Tenko is still technically his real name. Like,
and it's kind of like how Shigaraki eats every villain, right? Like every villain who came along, Shigaraki was eaten. Stain was eaten. He took control of his, influence, his clout, his ideology, and was able to utilize that to his betterment. I think especially in the case of Overhaul, that was kind of like the big tip off, is that like we looked at it as, oh, he consumed Overhaul. And he took his quirk erasing bullets and stuff like that. We kind of just like left it at that. But Overhaul is also a person who went from casually being Kai Chisaki to fully embracing a villain code name. It's one of those things that if you remember the Yakuza thugs were like using code names and stuff isn't the thing that we did with the old boss. That was a specifically Overhaul based thing. And so he kind of reinvented himself as a villain, like as a super villain for this phase of his plan, so that he could get the Yakuza back off the ground, to basically create the society that he wanted, just like how Tenko, who is now seeking to create this world how he sees fit, has embraced Tomura Shigaraki through the years. It was just it was basically like a lampshade.
Even with the way All For One gave him the thug's hands, like he gave him the hands of like his first, real
his first
body.
Kills.
It's essentially the same equivalence to Deku getting the fucking costume from his mom. It was in that thing, that vein, like, oh, my name is Deku. I have this. Like, it's not just a shitty name. It put everything into it.
Him killing the thugs. Those are Tomura Shigaraki's first memories. Like, he didn't have Tenko's memories. His first like life moments to him were killing those thugs in the alley. Like that was what Tomura Shigaraki remembered his childhood being like.
I understand. So anybody
and then he was thinking about his family. He was like, why do I feel like I could just do whatever I want? Why do I feel so free? So he ran away from all of that to be like the next All For One, like All For One successor. He ran away from that to become something else, Tomura Shigaraki.
All right, so Thomas, what you had said that you feel like the suits are held back from expanding on the villains and their quirks because of pressure. That was more so back in the day. That's not a worry now, or more so to speak, but I have a different viewpoint on a lot of people because, like I said, I'm not conceding and switching my stance on the future of the series until I see Shigaraki in the ground, right? And Toga down for the count for good. Not switching my stance until I see them down the ground. So my thing is like this. In the case that you've been lying in wait with a lot of these niggas, like, and honestly, these were really throwaway one arc villains, like for GMG, Gas Mask God, Discuss Gus. You could have really just like kind of just gave them their fights or something in like before, because now you're like, all right, you've been kind of low key hyping these niggas and you've been saving them for the cut. So for you to just like they pop up now, and then even in because I know some people haven't even seen it yet, but hold on, even 1,000 Year Blower, right? At least when the Quincy's pulled up, The first time around, a lot of niggas was flexing, right? And getting their W's and this and the other.
Dog.
And then like they was like demolishing, right? So that's what you kind of expected from the PLF and the advisors around the first go around. But the war was so big and encompassing, a lot of them were sliding through. But what you don't notice when them niggas sliding through actually showed their threat level. And some of the niggas was doing shit like GM Jasmine's guy has been built up. Like they gave this nigga the keys to go get Makia. That's a big fucking thing to do. Like, you know the trust you have to do? Like, all right, bro, like you know the trust you have to do, like, hey, you go get one of the biggest trump cards we can ever have. You in charge. And the way he moves and carries himself is completely different. He got Midnight's body on his hands. He talking shit about Midnight. It's like the weight carried about this nigga. Disgust us kind of been on the back burner, but he been like there talking. You know what I'm saying? It's like these niggas been in the cut moving and they've been moving, but it's like, you know, like it's like you're just gonna bring them back this last arc just to like kind of just throw them away. It's like I'm not seeing that a lot, and especially a lot of the liberation stuff that they haven't gotten expanded upon, the mutants and shit like that. So it's just making me feel like,
yeah, especially with how he used Skeptic, dog, because I swear to God, Skeptic was in tiny panels before like he did his run back. Like Compress saving him was such a tiny panel that you could skip over. Ended up being so important later.
Exactly. That's on like, all right, like I said, don't let slight bumps in the roads and hiccups and things you don't like overcast a fucking dark shadow over the entire of the series going forward. All
well,
right.
That's kind of like how Hori was like, I wanted to show this, but I didn't get to. And he made it a point to include the sequence that he was gonna add, which I kind of hope the anime does add it, but we'll see where Dabi was like, wait, no, before, like when he noticed that Makia was trying to get him, he flew over there to hurry up and grab Skeptics. He knew he was going to need him. Mm-hmm. Like Skeptic, which that kind of goes to show you that like Hori is consistently like, no, information warfare is important. Information warfare is important. It's important. And that's kind of been a thing throughout the entire series, right? Where if you think back to when we were first introduced to Dabi, he was like, we don't have to successfully kidnap Bakugo. We broke into the USJ. We broke into your camp.
We already violated.
And off that alone, you're going to have social issues now. The fact that we already injured multiple students. So he was straight up like, you know, winner, succeed or fail here. We win. So them taking Bakugo was like extra on top of the cake. Yes, and then they turned around and won. Bakugo almost got no Mufied. So that's something to think about, which, if you think about it, Bakugo is kind of like an undead now, but whatever. So like in this, like the way that like the villains were gonna kill and then bring him back, like it's kind of come full circle for them. Yeah, you were gonna kill this nigga, bring him back, and then make him serve you. And now you killed him, but the heroes are gonna bring him back, and he's gonna cause you some issues. So, but Dabi was like, we're trying to win the news story. The news cycle is what we're after. Just like how Stain kept getting deleted, you know, and then re-uploaded because people was like, nah, bro, that video was crazy. Let me get this quick, you know, woo, couple hits on YouTube or whatever it's called on in My Hero World. So we've kind of always been touching on this. So when Skeptic was introduced, one of the first takeaways should have been, yes, this dude is gonna be a big player moving forward, especially with the technology that he has. Like the reason why, which is kind of funny because that kind of ties into why Curious died, because ultimately, while books can go viral, books can end up being bought up off the shelves, which do you think had more direct impact on a global scale? The videos, etc., that went viral on YouTube or whatever that Skeptic made, or the print media that Curious was putting out?
All right,
definitely Skeptic, but I just want to say, listen, if Curious got to really get to writing about Toya, it would have never been able to be good again. Curious would have spun the block on him with that, right?
Yeah, that's. But let me say, like, but back on Anki and piggyback on what Anki said. How many of y'all got iPhones? Or I know iPhones is. How many got iPhones? And the iPhone pops up the new shit, and y'all don't give two fucks about what that shit got to say.
Mm-hmm.
I just cleared that notification.
Exactly. That's that's equivalent to fucking 2 seconds of reading a book or the newspaper. Now, some shit pop up on Instagram, you get your news. school shooting, whatever it may be, like, oh, this died, murder couple. They be like, damn, that's fucked up. But you guess what you see on social media, Instagram, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, that's like, okay. Now you see it though, right? But you got the same notification from the newsstand. It's about the internet's being more of that. And the way, bro, Skeptics, y'all remember at the NBA, Skeptic was whipping up videos like fucking edit that shit with CGI, via special effects, like, oh, this town got attacked. Look at this shit like that. And I'm like, okay, like, oh, that shit kind of crazy. It's the way it's like proceed and stuff like that. So like Skeptic here, like I said, Skeptic and Maki are both big ass plot devices, but it's the way in that they don't have titties and muscles that and they lasted out their longevity past one arc. That's why nobody makes a big fuss. But people are more invested in Nagan and Cassius, so they have a bigger issue because like, oh, they try to make the excuse, oh, they could have done this one more or this, that, and other. Like, not really, because it kind of would have broke a lot of stuff in the story based off where we at now, right? So it's just like niggas just like it's about investment, or nobody cares that Skeptic and them were really plot devices too. Nobody calls that out because Skeptic Baki was just the biggest plot device for PLF to get everybody else from point A to point B in the war, or the raid, I should say. And then Skeptic, that nigga, there's a reason why he's around here right now doing as much as he did. Like that's the reason why he here right now doing the fuck he doing. It's like that, and it's like, and then think about it. Yeah, we want to read Destro and Geetson. Should have got their fights too, but we don't know if they're coming back or not. But let's say this. Let's say they come back, right? Let's use that agency. You could not have had them niggas right here, bro. The heroes are already on every battlefield. The heroes are already kind of fucked sideways. Or they really have to tooth and nail to even get the fucking W, right? They don't have really a high percentage chance rate. Now you imagine throwing Geeton or Redestro on any fucking battlefield. What do you think would happen?
Man, listen. Which that's one of the things that I find kind of fascinating too, is that when there was this huge debate over whether or not the villains really won or the heroes really lost when the PLW raid happened. And a lot of people were like, no, the villains didn't even lose. And it's like, this is a hero victory to you?
Shit, me, nigga.
But the absence of Gatan, the absence of even Redestro as a combatant has not been felt in the same way that we feel the loss of just having a bunch of pro heroes step down and us being stripped. And the reason for that is because no matter how you spin it, the villains as a faction spun the block on the heroes that day. They pulled, think about this, the PLW raid, they got pulled up on at 8 a.m., which I can see it now. Why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? All season. But especially when we get to the high deep blue battle, I can already smell it coming on the wind. But season 6 ending at Nagant shooting at him is probably a pipe dream. I'm gonna be real with you.
I'd rather go with 317 because it gives where does the story go from here type beat rather than that.
So and I was thinking about doing a video on this season specifically because one of the things that happened with season 5 that I hate is that if you go back, you can find a tweet that I did that talked about the first core of the anime, and I was off by one episode. And everybody else was trying to condense a bunch of chapters into these 5-6 episodes. And they're like, no, we'll be done with that by episode 7 or 8, and then we'll be on the NBA. And I was like, first of all, you don't even want that, because if you want even a shot at a My Villain Academia opening, you don't want that arc starting 8 episodes into the season. So first off, I had to make that clear. And nobody wants to listen to that part either. This is what I mean when I say it's only care about the shit that makes them hype. Because I ended up being right. And JT and the beginning stuff took the entire first core, and people were confused because they don't pay attention to what Bones actually does when it adapts, or their adaptation rate or anything like that. So when you look at where we left off, which is around 258, You got 42 chapters between 258 and 300. With those chapters being adapted specifically, you can go up to like 295. Adapt 37 chapters within the first 13 episodes of the season, and it'll likely be pretty reasonably paced with a 2 to 3 chapter an episode adaptation rate. Some of the best episodes in the entire series, like when Deku had Overhaul doing the Harlem Shake, and people love that. Deku vs. Kachan 2. Some of the most beloved episodes are 3.5 chapters stuffed into one episode. Specifically, also action sequences, of course. So, from that perspective, if you look at the PLW section, realistically getting from 258 to 295, not that crazy. So then you have to look at what are the last 12 episodes going to be. 12, 13 episodes going to be in the season, since apparently we're not getting a recap episode this year. And if you stick to that 3 chapter adaptation, or go 36 chapters from 295, so that's, around 331. We could end up landing around 331-ish. And just for the sake of the discussion, I will go ahead and pull up the chapter list, and let's see where 331 is, because it's very possible that, let's see, 331. So we would, if we end it with 331, or if we end around that 331 area, what we would be getting is another pro hero arc type finish. So I think the strategy that they might go with for this season is a combination of what they did for season 3 and 4. Where they condensed pro hero arc towards the back end of season 4 for the really strong finish. So we could condense some of the Deku Black stuff, because some of the chapters are just, kind of seeing how stuff is, people having quick conversations, not a big deal. The first war part will likely have, the first course realistically going to have joint training level animation. It's a matter of, if with no COVID, because I hate that COVID doesn't get brought up when people talk about season 5. I really do. Because this was also the first season where we were on, Twitter and saw an animator be like, oh, we were working on this episode this week. I don't recall us having that happen anytime but season 5. So during season 5, they had worked on a bunch of, joint training, all the other good stuff. COVID is happening, so they wrap up the first half of the season, and then as the whole rest of the season, they're playing catch up, trying to get back on track production wise.
Do you remember that Toga episode? They literally said they were working on it the day before. That's terrible.
So COVID completely and that's why, do I like the swap? No. Do I think the swap actually had potential? Yes. I do think that the swap had potential narratively. Unfortunately, they didn't know that they were going to get hit with a pandemic. And anybody who's talking to you about that season on AniTube and isn't also talking about how COVID shifted their production cycle or impacted it is just trying to get clicks out of you, and they are not trying to actually be informative. You need to recognize that, because otherwise you don't ignore part of what makes production difficult while discussing production. That's not how honest content works. So without COVID, we could get, a back half season 4 type thing where it's going to be a little faster. Personally, as much as people will probably say I'm tripping off this, I think the ideal ending point for season 6 is actually going to be, so there's what I always consider the ideal ending point, because I always talk about this whenever I talk about season predictions, where I think the ideal end point is, and this will be controversial, I want to say it's the end of 328 specifically that I like. The end of 328 is what I would consider like an ideal endpoint. You have Stain breaking out of jail, especially because My Hero loves its cliffhanger seasons, and then you have the announcement that Star and Stripe is on her way to America. That's where I personally would end season 6. But especially given 327 is largely kind of silly, to just kind of tone down stuff. We could get a situation like that would also be an okay endpoint for me, at least, like that conversation with Stain between All Might and us kind of having that borderline hopeful thought process and like what we're going to do next, especially when season 2 ended with the cliffhanger of Stain, you know, licking the blade and stuff. So it kind of comes down to how much time they want to spend on the citizens dissenting, which that's another thing I'm a little worried about having clipped, is like not putting a lot of emphasis on how the citizens kind of pushed back against the heroes here, just because like those kinds of social points aren't always emphasized in the series, i.e. CRC getting cut, Overhaul's evolutionary theory based off the mice thing getting cut. So stuff like that can sometimes be clipped out of the story randomly, but a lot of these crowd reactions and stuff, it'll come down to how they want to adapt it. But we could easily turn like the end of Deku Black into a very quick run, and I could easily see like Muscular versus Deku Part 2 taking half an episode just to show and emphasize that growth. So we're not going to get a TPN2 level.
No, I ain't gonna listen. I ain't gonna go over. Listen, like I said, I be enjoying the anime sometimes. I don't know, like me. All I'm saying is only time I really ever had a big major gripe with the anime is what they did with NBA. But like I said, I'm not gonna hold that to Bones specifically. I just ain't got. My thing is just like the openings ain't been hitting. Even disregard NBA open. That's whatever. It didn't exist. Whatever. That go the song is the music isn't the issue. It's the visuals, and I'm tired of the excuse of, oh, spoiler this, spoiler that, bro. That's what's point to get you hype. You know what I mean? Anime opens got spoilers, and half time niggas don't even realize it's about your creativity and the level you put into it. Like you can really like niggas be throwing out some creative ideas, and they like don't have any idea like of anime, nothing. Like it's like you put an idea out, like, oh, well, what if you creatively allude to this? Only manga readers would get that. I don't like a lot of times you talk about anime over spoiler shit. Fucking Odd Future. I keep my ideas like it's spoiled off one and fucking everybody fighting and shit, like, and off one, all my fighting. Like, it's to get you hyped about what's to come. That's the point of it. Like, that's the point of an open. I just want to, I don't care. I want to see the song is good because I seen the preview. I'm not really worried about animes like that. I usually enjoy the shit. I just want to see what the anime visuals for the opening like. I really got no faith, but we'll see what it look like. Because sometimes they be pulling out bangers, but the last one. So, yeah, that's all I really want to see. I just want my anime openings, but we'll see what that look like. I ain't putting no money in it.
Oh, Heroes Rising definitely had blatant spoilers in it. Look, my stance on openings and manga spoilers or anime spoilers is simply this: don't pull a toy and spoil manga readers with your spoilers. That actually happened once, where the opening spoiled something that was like, oh, like we're speculating on this as manga readers, but we don't know for sure yet. And then an anime opening came out, and it was like, did they just confirm that?
Basically, shit.
Like,
and you know it's deep because Oda be fucking with Oda be on their ass. Oh, like they like he already said they like family. They be working on the anime hand in hand.
Was this a One Piece thing?
Like, yeah, like if you remember the stuff with Denjiro was spoiled in the anime opening before we got it in the manga.
That's right.
Like it was like, dog, why did you you shouldn't put that in the opening? You couldn't just update that a little later.
And the thing with Drake too, I think, was spoiled.
Yeah, like
yeah.
So yeah, there's so like, but like the thing about Heroes Rising also is that the spoilers are very much like blink and you miss it type beat. Because like you saw Toko Oyami using like Heaven Fallen Angel, but you would have had no reason to really think about it. Like
Tokoyami stands definitely peeped that. Like, yo, my nigga flying.
Yeah.
Then they also had the high ends too. They spoiled the high ends. Ujiko as a whole is this whole spoiler. Like I'm talking to Ujiko and the way he looks is a whole spoiler.
Exactly. But
also,
that's
just keep in mind too, like a lot of anime onlys don't think it's a spoiler until somebody says it's a spoiler.
Bro,
a great example is my wife. She went to see the MHA movie. She saw Heroes Rising. She wasn't spoiled on shit.
bro.
She was like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is great." I'm like, "Yes, it is, isn't it?"
It was awesome.
Bro, literally, the shit, the Junpei shit in JJK.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like, hello, they like literally they fooled your, they
Nah, bro,
fooled
that
your
shit
ass.
was
They,
ironic.
they fooled your ass.
That's
If
so
anything,
funny.
it's like I said, it's all about creativity and how you want to do shit. Like
Yeah.
even Gojo shit, like him, his red shit is like all about how you present. And you know what? The biggest thing about that too, I'll take one of the most creative motherfuckers out there in the game from the manga game, and when Toya was in a fucking in a bag too. Shout out to that nigga. Shout out to that nigga Taite Kubo, bro. Cause when them niggas was in that bitch and doing that shit, like they was getting real creative and shit like that. Like, even though like you can like insinuate or stuff like that, it's like, all right, but these niggas got creative on all across the boards. Like, even like fucking opening 9 of it's just like it's like still frames, but it's not still frames. It's like with the color Valencia, the one where they're like standing and it's like the color frame for every different body, and they're just standing squatted up, the captain and the vice captain. That opening,
Oh yeah.
it's like, bro, it's not even like major soccer or some crazy shit. It's just like the way you create, twist it and tweak it, and it's the passion you put. Like, it's not that hard. Like, it's like, let's focus on what the arc is on. Let's allude to some shit. Let's get crazy with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now there's no excuse. This is a villains and heroes fighting. Everybody should have an equal amount of screen time, all right? And the people that really were prominent in this arc should really be getting their just desserts on both sides. Like, they should really be like, it should be alluded to some shit. It should be getting like real crazy, real hype. You should not be like 90% kids and like 10% villains. Like, we need to have a good balance, a good mixture for real, because you know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's why I was fucking with the art this season. They got some fire art because they got the villains on the top and the kids on the bottom. But nah, that trailer was actually pretty dope. Like, I ain't gonna sit here and say it's gonna be the best season, you know, because we got to see that like actually play out. But you know, they going hard this season.
My stance is we got a lot of potential for this season to be top tier in that regard, just off the fact that I don't care that a lot of people try to convince me that like the Deku Black arc was bad. I don't feel that way about it.
Same.
Like, it just is what it is. Like, I don't feel like this arc was terrible. The other thing that I want to say too is that I mentioned how a lot of stuff is done in like 2-3 chapter adaptations. A lot of what I've read recently feels like Hori writing 3 chapter chunks in an effort to be like, this is an anime episode. So like, for example, like even like 362 through 364, that feels like Hori wrote an anime episode. And so like when you look at it from that perspective, it'll probably be executed a little differently. So either 362 to 364 or like 363 to 365 are supposed to be an episode. So we'll see how that plays out, especially with the way things are going. But some of these sequences, like these info dumps, because of the way the One for All info dump, for example, happens, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like, you know, 2 chapters, like all adapted into one half of the first half of the episode or something like that. We're in a weird spot, but it should be okay. I'm not worried about it. I think that with the time they had and the fact they had already adjusted to COVID, that we should be good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, but anybody else got anything to say about anime? Because, you know, we got the actual feature of the series to discuss. That's what the anime derived from.
And so my stance on this though is that like this chapter specifically, entitled number 4 and number 5, we get confirmation that Edshot is basically burning through his lifespan trying to do this. Then we get confirmation also that or we see in real time, like as Edshot is slowly doing all this, number 5 is getting literally torn apart and getting an assist from, you know, Genus, basically suturing her stuff with carbon fiber. What do y'all think is happening in these next chapters?
I think the meat puppets, we need to see, like, you know, I hope we don't cut away at this point, because you might as well stay here until something like really climactic happens again.
Yeah.
So I think these meat puppets, we need to see like if they're sentient or not. If they're sentient, then this could really go into like some weird like Tenko's like taking over the body and yelling at his family type shit. And then the heroes are like, what the fuck? Like we go in a direction like that. We go in a direction where like they're just meat, they're just an extension of the body. And he's using the meat puppets like to try to find some way to break the barrier or something like that, or to fight back the heroes. Or maybe Genius could get his moment next chapter because he really didn't do much this chapter besides assist Miracle. So he might have to hold these meat puppets off. Basically, I just think like Shigaraki's creating new players on the board that they're gonna have to deal with. Maybe Kaminari and them might step in to help. Like I feel like we might need some more help soon. Like because Miracle is not looking too good, and Genius ain't looking too good himself. And also Sun Eater in that one panel, we haven't brought this up yet. It looks like he ate one of the fingers. If you zoom in on that panel, like he might have eaten one of those fingers, so he might get like another moment.
I've been wanting him to eat. Man, this sounds gross, but I've been wanting him to eat some Shigaraki flesh. Like I know it sounds gross, but I've been like, nah, dude, go ahead, eat some Shigaraki. You ate. Look, I recently was rewatching like Overhaul arc. If you can eat crystals off a dude's body, you can eat some human flesh.
Yeah, man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so to me, it depends on these puppets. Like, what are these puppets supposed to be? If they're like combatants, then we about to step into like a whole nother phase of this fight where it's not just the one body anymore; it's these things too. And if he does create league members, then just damn, like they got a whole army to fight now that he could just create on hand.
Nah, bro, this is his intro to Felt Surrogacy episode. All right. No, that was a community reference. It's the puppet therapy episode.
So, there's so much. Who about talk?
A moan flesh golem chasing after Amajiki. Dear Lord Joseph, you wild.
Who's about to say something before I start tackling some things in chat?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna tackle some things in the chat and then go back to the program. Black Hole Right to Spirit. Talking about leaving arc where like 90% of events happen off screen. Not really, because the major event happened. Everything else was like the major villain for the arc. Because when have we ever had like, oh, we tackling it's a major villain, now let's go fight all these other little villains, but it's just Deku. All the other fights are irrelevant. They're just squash matches, right? And he went and just stomped some niggas out, especially after he had 5 Gen was using Black Hole like that. He just had, we didn't see that. See, that's my thing too about that. In comic books, they do that shit all the fucking time. It ain't no damn big deal. All right. The major fight and the thing, like, not everybody had it. Not like all the major important stuff for Deku's character was on screen. The way he was doing after would just been wash, rinse, repeat. Go in, beat somebody up, had no real backstory, go on. Go and beat somebody up, backstory, go on. Go and beat somebody up, backstory, go on. Go on, and so on and so forth. It wouldn't have mattered at a 5 chapters of fighting. That's just fighting without substance. Like I said, this nigga don't do nothing without substance and a reason for it. I would like more just throw off, but like he likes to save characters for reasons. He likes to do things for a reason. So it ain't just throw away. So he wasn't finna keep drawing a bunch of fights that's gonna be throwaway fights, because those fights really taught Deku nothing. Deku was in a mind state where they literally said, nigga, show up, say the day, and go. The way he looked, he's not even here. He don't even speak. Get in, move in without sound. So it wouldn't have been anything of like substance there. Everything you needed to see was shown. I understand one a little more, but then again, let's not act like we missed so much of Deku's character. He was going in, boxing niggas out, and leaving. That's all it was.
Yeah, I need to start praying to Bone Sama, because they can add some heat during that section. They can add some flair to that, like him fighting and dipping.
Exactly.
That's another part of why I don't want to try to do too heavy of a prediction on Core 2. Just because we're never going to have a season like how people were like, oh, maybe, or a core as short as a core would have been if it would have been just MVA, for example, because that was still one of the wilder takes. Like, it's only 22 chapters. That's not going to be like, that would have been a terrible adaptation rate. But
so back to now we get back to this.
I wanted to read something from the chat that's like really fresh. It's White Despair. He said, if these flesh puppets can use some quirks, then that could create a real tough situation for the heroes, since Monoma and Aizawa would have to keep an eye on multiple moving enemies now as opposed to just Shigaraki. That's a fact. With
Yeah.
if they can use quirks, that because we got that flashback for a reason. Like the little flashback at the end of the chapter where he's like, my body's like searching like for the stockpile of quirks and stuff like that. So if he could just pass on certain quirks to other parts of his body and they could just go cause chaos, like what if they go underground? We know UA has an underground right now. What if they go underground and start fucking with people? Like,
well, right now the underground is basically the people who are keeping the thing afloat. And I've stood on I think this thing has to fall. I originally, and one of the things that I think Hori's kind of being stingy with is that, and like he's quietly doing this, which makes it even more annoying, is like if you go back to, I want to say it was 362 the last time we got to see this update. If you go back and you look after the plasma cannon fails and all that other stuff, we do get a hard confirmation that we've moved back over like city. So the question is also what direction have we been going in this entire time? Like, are we moving towards Camino, for example, and it's going to be like Shigaraki converges with Dabi, and then the AFO is on his way to Camino too, and then we get like AFO, Dabi, and Shigaraki all fighting against like Shoto, Bakugo, and Deku right there at Camino. Like, what are we setting up for exactly here?
What happened to Esha? Esha finna die in a nigga body here.
We got some real combatants downstairs. Like we got Momo, Kaminari, of course. We got Manga. We got Cementos. Ectoplasm might be there. Like,
well, you know what? It really we just can count Kaminari because everybody else can't really move. They need to keep replacing the material on the field and shit like that. So they can't really do.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Like these meat puppets would be fucking with the flow. Like they'd be up.
And then it's gonna be like, all right, we can't even handle Shigaraki. Now we gotta worry about them going downstairs and fuck with everybody else. We can't even handle Shigaraki. And everybody keeps getting more damage and more outweighed and more drained, losing body parts. Meanwhile, Shigaraki's pretty much still the same. I mean, he's evolving as they speak. So it's even worse for them.
Right. Like we're almost at a point where, and this is why I was like, man, Deku's gonna have to, I don't know, man, we might have to get like a recording of Deku saving everybody with the black whip, because like this stuff is going to fall. They already mentioned how it wasn't dealing with the extra weight of all the body parts that Shigaraki was randomly spawning. It's gonna take damage. Like we got, like, if Bakugo gets back in, he's gonna have to fight more carefully, but he's also probably gonna fight a little more recklessly to try to get the job done. Especially because the odds of, like, I don't see Edshot, even if Edshot lives through the repair, I don't see him living past like once he gets out of the body, because he's gonna get smashed by Shigaraki then. Like, all right, cool, fine. I'll just kill you, then go kill him again. That's the mindset that Shigaraki would bring to that table.
If Bakugo wakes up like anytime soon, he could definitely like get a moment blitzing all these meat puppets at once.
Like, especially since Explosion is now a full cowling move. So, which people used to be like, oh, Bakugo to get explosions out of his feet. And I'm glad Hori went in this direction instead, because
you know what? I really hope they can use other quirks now, because imagine like them rejoining with the body. Like that would be a way for him to show us what he can do, and then like it goes back into his body. Like, all right, yeah, now he has the quirk again. Like, Hori, if you want to do a horror manga after this, just say that. Like, I mean, you already been said that, but like, damn.
So what's funny is I'm seeing this. The Deku versus Shigaraki fight is so Akenza. I won't spoil Demon Slayer because but like how niggas be going through all these phases in the final fight.
Yeah,
it's
the mid-slayer phases.
Yeah. So basically, Shigaraki's going through all these. So like, thank God, because by the time we get with Deku here, it's just going to be Shigaraki, Deku, the little Tinkle shit gonna be solved basically immediately or already. So it's just gonna be Shigaraki fully regen, all his quirks going absolutely stupid against Deku. Like they're gonna be boxing out, and I'm so happy. Like we getting, so it's like growing pains, but it's like we'll get everything we need out the way by the time these two niggas can do what they need to do, and they can have they center stage. Them two, they get their time, but what's been needed because people make a plan. Oh, I want my Deku definitely know what happened to Shigaraki being hold all this time. So it's like, all right, Shigaraki completely free to do everything. Just let shit rain. Let it motherfucker loose. He not being liberated just quite yet, but we on the cusp of it.
It's been a while in the stream, so it's time to sprinkle some negativity in here. Now listen,
shit.
I know that she's sexy as hell, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm burnt out on Miracle's character. I'm burnt out at this point.
I've been good. Like I said,
the dialogue from her this chapter is literally a rerun of the normal fight. Like she don't change at all.
I don't consider this negativity, honestly, because this is something that I noticed when I was rereading another arc recently, where it was like only 2 characters on the hero side that we really cared about died. And I was like, yeah. But when I reread the arc, I was like, well, what's interesting is that like these 2 were the ones most sad about not having a place to die and lay their head. And when we get what we got here is a character that's like, I'm living my life without regrets. And it's only a matter of time. And I'm glad I just see that Volk tweeted about what I was going to make the joke of, because you mentioned him grabbing her by the hair, and I kind of want her to go ahead and say the Monty Python quote that it's only a flesh wound before she gets put out. Because we're at this point now where it's like she doesn't have Endeavor, right? Like Endeavor was like, let me cauterize these wounds right quick.
Nah, she's done.
Bakugo can't do that for her.
She's done. Like if she loses that other leg, she's really gonna have no limbs. Like she still got her little rake leg, but that could shatter easily. Like
right, like we could get a point where she's running around with 2 prosthetics on, but
what the hell that gonna do?
Then she's gonna be Tink Tink.
Then she can't put on the prosthetics though. If that's the case, like if they break, then she's done. Like
I said, what the fuck are those prosthetics gonna do?
Yeah, because the question is like, I'm looking, and it looks like it's the biological leg that kicked Shigaraki in the head. I'm trying to double check here just to make sure.
It was definitely that one, because he was like, fuck. She kicked, and she really kicked that nigga too, which is why I'm still like confused that his head spent, because it was like, you really want to die that bad? Like she kicked the shit out of that nigga the first time. He like did not move, because you could see the smoke from the impact, like how hard she hit that nigga, and he was like, you really want to fucking die? Like that shit was kind of.
I'm so surprised she's doing what she's doing right now.
Oh God!
Like I get the desperation thing, but it's just like, okay, just a little bit ago you weren't doing anything.
Like page 7, the bottom of page 7 is nightmare fuel. Like she looks like a dog, like just running.
Yeah. He was letting his full horn take control. Couldn't be me, bro. But man, hold on. Is that darkness that's creeped into the stream? It's none other than my favorite student, Kugasaki.
What's good, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Nafisa.
All right. Let me, because I'm not even home. Let me not lie. Let me just say my two cents. The chapter itself, let me not lie. I read that shit like 3 seconds ago. So I'm gonna be honest about the whole, revival thing with Bakugo. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a week, and I'm still kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? I will say though, one of my complaints was how unsanitary this whole thing was. And I'm still kind of like, so I like how they threw in. He's like, oh, I got this from watch. I was like, all right. I see it. You're trying to make it make sense. I like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, you have that. Cool. I like that. But it's like, I'm not gonna lie though. It's just like, so he a cardiovascular surgeon all of a sudden. That's a part of his credentials. I was like, okay, so you know about all the systems, but I think ultimately because I guess it doesn't make sense for them to kind of go super in depth with his quirk when his character wasn't really like, he was cool, he looks nice and all that, but to go super in depth, it would feel kind of random. So it's like, I think they're trying to intertwine his character and having like kind of understanding full about like his quirk and how he utilizes and everything, because it doesn't make sense. Let me not lie, it makes sense of what he's doing and why he's able to do what he's doing. But it's kind of just like a bit of me, or let me not lie, a good part of me still. It's kind of just like, oh, but we'll move past that. You know, we got more chapters, so it is what it is. I'm very excited, very, very excited about what Shigaraki's gonna do, because I'm not gonna lie, the heroes are I'm getting tired of the hurrah heroes. Like, I'm trying to see destruction. Let me not lie. I'm trying to see them, like, because I know we got. I think
admitted to being bloodthirsty.
Let me not lie. 100%, because I feel as though, I don't want to say robbed. I think that's a strong word, but because the Bakugo fatality, that aspect of it, I'm like, Bakugo was dead. I was like, wow, like if he really goes with this route, like, oh, no matter what the heroes do at this point, if they even win, I'm like, you know what, y'all got it. But because now it's kind of like, I don't want to say he's reversing the decision, because at the end of the day, that's his manga. He can do whatever he want to do. But because of that, now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna need the rest of y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to go. And I think when I was joining in, Tarnish was talking about like being tired of Miracle. I'll be honest, I don't necessarily agree, because I'm like, I barely be seeing her, to be honest. She had that one rundown in the first war, and that's pretty much it. And I'm kind of surprised. I was like, why aren't the other heroes doing something? So I was actually excited to see that she was going in like she was. I was like, finally, you doing something? Like, come on now. I also am interested in more of what Shigaraki was meaning when he was talking about, oh, like, why did that hurt all of a sudden? I was like, wait, don't get soft on me. I'm gonna need you to go crazy. What's going on over here? And let's see, I'm kind of forgetting what else happened in the chapter. So yeah, I think that's overall it. I'm excited. I can't wait for the destruction, because I'm gonna need more of it. That's pretty much it.
So the one thing that I'll say about the surgery thing is that I said it in the chat yesterday too, and I was like, honestly, if you told me Edshot was capable of moving around through people's bodies and doing non-lethal damage while damaging their organs directly, but he had no familiar with physiology to also be able to repair it, that would actually be dumpster fire writing. That would be dumpster juice writing, because how the hell is he not killing people while poking through their organs at the speed of sound if he's not medically familiar with
exactly. I think that's why this is why I'm saying, like, it makes sense in this case, because we're not using, like, I don't want to just refer to Bakugo as just a random ass body, but in this case, the body isn't healthy, right? There's already excess damage. So it's like, you know how when people check and they use autopsies and they use a body, it's like, if anything goes wrong, they're already dying. So you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, in that aspect, I'm like, okay, cool. And then plus emphasize, because you had to re-emphasize that Genus already kind of is like, did some part of it. So it's not like he's like going in there blind, but it's like, I feel as though, that's why I'm saying, like, I have a little bit of a with it. remove my medical knowledge to the side for a minute. I think because we don't know too much about him. I think somebody mentioned this last week, that if we really got to see the Redestro fight, I would have been able to stomach this more, because then that would have been able to showcase what he's actually able to do, and it wouldn't kind of just be like, oh, okay, so you can do that now. Cool, crazy. And even the whole thing with the wash bubble, I was like, you just threw that shit in there, bro. When I saw that, I was dying. I was like, that was my main complaint. I'm like, you're literally gonna kill him even worse. Like, that is disgusting. You were running up on mud and shit, and now you're gonna go and touch his vital organs. I was like, what? This makes no sense. But then they threw that shit in there. I was like, all right, cool. But then when you add that to everything else, I was just like it's just hard to really stomach this whole situation, even removing the fact that, like, because again, let me not lie, I was never 100% sure if Bakugo was gonna die. I was like, yeah, like a part of me, like, I wasn't gonna get finesse. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, it'd be cool if that happened. And I think the moment was very impactful. And if that were the end, I feel as though, because the one question that I kept asking myself was, what does Bakugo really need to do after this? And there wasn't anything that was a need. It was more so wants, right? That's how I separated it. Because if there was one need, I'd be like, okay, no, he has to come back. But I couldn't think of something that he needed to do in story. It was more so things that I wanted him to do. Like, I wanted him to have a final conversation with Deku. I wanted him to be there when he ultimately faces Shigaraki, or All for One, or however it is. I wanted him to be there, but when I thought of the needs, I was like, I don't really see anything he really needs to do. I feel as though his character was overall complete, right? But the whole thing at shot, like, I'm trying. I'm really trying. Like I'm trying to
So
stomach it, but it's just a bit of it.
narratively, I thought it, and this is something that people kind of complained about in the Deku Black arc, and it was something that I expected to come back into play later. And it was specifically that Bakugo apologized, but there was never actually a discussion or acknowledgement on either side of like what was really going on and how they felt. Like we've never had them directly just straight up talk to each other. And I think that the beautiful irony that narratively I think should exist is we finally hit a point in the story where everybody refers to Deku as Deku. And just like how the only other person beside like Deku that calls Bakugo Kacchan as Kaminari, we get this point where his whole professional career, Bakugo calls him Izuku.
Yeah.
And so it's like we haven't had the actual payoff for their tension and dynamic through the story. And this kind of ties into what I was saying or hinted at earlier when I said that there's things that are satisfying for a reader, but wouldn't actually be satisfying for
the story,
like the characters. Yeah, like the story of the characters, where like a reader can see Bakugo die here and be like, yeah, stakes, yeah, woo, woo, and be happy just off the bloodlust, off the war, even though people like to say, I'm not bloodlusting just because I want them, like,
no, I can admit that.
Like, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I want a child to die, and then be like, you'll be like, okay, yeah, no. Like,
I was good on none of the kids. Like, only one I really had in child block was Ayama because they fighting Kunita. And that was, but it was the way, oh, if he don't die, it's fine. It's gonna be either double KO or he go on and then still he has to live with the bats Aesop type beat. I only have Bakugo Diamond says Vegeta type. Oh, let me help you get away Deku type beat. And Ida, we know why we had Kirishima because this whole unbreakable, nobody believe behind me shit. I didn't need none of them niggas dying. Now the heroes, I don't give a fuck. Them niggas need to go. Them niggas, y'all understand.
Oh yeah, they need to go.
My energy has always been like
understaffed, under quality. My only thing was the kid was just like, why y'all always so like adamant, like, oh, no child can ever die type beat, like.
Don't know.
So
I think it was because of how Bakugo went.
I don't like the children can never die mindset, but I also don't need the kids dying narratively or thematically for there to be stakes. But that's also partially because I understand the actual definition of the word casualty. Because a lot of people think casualty equals death, when actually casualty is any person who is injured or directly impacted by the events. So just by like having your house destroyed and getting like a small cut, you are a casualty of war.
Even the first war, I think, because people were so hell bent on death, this, death, that they kind of pushed aside all the other aspects. Like society itself changed. Like nobody was messing with these heroes. Like people's houses were done. It's like when you go into something and you have a priority, like that's already going to mess up your experience. Like if you're expecting like the main casualty to be, oh, these people are going to die, this and that. And I understand having being like excited and stuff, but sometimes I feel as though people don't manage their expectations and then they see something that they don't like and it's trash.
No, see, that's the thing. I told people, I was like, oh, niggas didn't die and that. And I see that. I told niggas, I'm like, all right, bro, now I see the vision of why, because all these damn heroes quitting, they understaffed, underemployed. This is why. And then now, last time was just a raid. This time, this is why death is on the table, because it ain't no running. This is head to head. The Liberation Army is risking their life for this. They will die for the cause. Like, have you ever seen zealous witch coven fanatics, like niggas paranormal activity? Those niggas will die. Like I forgot what that one ranch was the Stardust Ranch or some shit like that. They had a coven niggas drink poison and kill themselves and slit their throats so they could go to a higher plane of existence. Niggas are fanatics for this shit. They will die for the cause. Like, ain't no running this time. It's like back, like
especially
like,
because we weeded out
the
people that weren't. The people that weren't for the cause, like they essentially quit. They left hero work. So it's like the people that are on the front lines now, it's like I think now it makes more sense. Still, you should manage your expectations with anything. Let's be real. Manga aside, anything in life, okay? But regardless, now I think it makes more sense to kind of expect a bit more casualties regarding death because of the impact of the first war and how essentially we weeded out all the people that really weren't there for the right reasons. So it's like now you really like look what Miracle's doing, bro. Her arm got ripped off and she like, I'm still going.
And that's the thing too. And I want y'all to realize this too. I hope y'all do realize now that Dobby was the precedent for what happens to the rest of the league. I want you to realize that when Shoto wanted to talk, and y'all keep talking about talking, ain't no talking. You do realize this nigga kept himself alive for 10 years when he should have died 6 months after he ran away. He kept himself off vengeance. Do you think some talk from a brother he don't even fuck with like that? Finna put him down on ice? I'm like, no, this nigga is going to like, I was like, if he would have lost, see, that's why I always knew going out with a whimper wasn't Dobby's style. He was too pizzazz. He gassed the nigga too much. Like, if he would have died like Lancer from Fate, like, curse you, like,
oh, that shit was messed up.
Go to hell, like, damn you all, like, if you lost, I'm like, all right, Dobby, like,
Dobby was asleep.
That's the
He
thing
was
about
asleep
it.
on Soto's shoulders, bro. Like
that's how, like, if Dobby went out like that, it was like, okay, that's at least that's in Dobby's character, in his sight, to go like that. Twice was the lightest hearted nigga, sweetest hearted nigga in the league, and he went out fighting tooth and nail to the death. Nobody else is finna talk and be like, I changed my action, my ways. That's not gonna work. This is like, it's some people you have to put in the ground, bro. Just not talking is not gonna help. You can't be like, freeze, don't move. Some niggas don't give a fuck about that. They will keep on doing what they got to do. We already crossed the line, bro. You think if I went this far with the rest of the league, you think I'm gonna be like, man, y'all right, bro. You know what? I'm not gonna reflect on my actions. Nah, nigga, you might as well kill me, bro, because I'm not finna sit in no jail. So there is nothing else for me. These are religious fanatics, zealots. It's insane. Like this is like it's win or lose. Like this is a legit war right now. Like for real. Like talking is not gonna work for these people.
That's literally the idea behind Ochako and Toga right now. But people keep wanting to be like, oh, they're just fighting for Deku. No, that's not it. That wasn't the point of their confrontation in the raid. That's not the crux of their fight right now. No, it's the fact that Toga thinks what she's doing is right and nobody else wants to understand her or believe her. So, all right, fine. Even if you try to tell me that I'm doing this wrong, no, to me, it's right.
Also, I want to kind of highlight something that Joseph Shiola said in chat, just because it's a really good thing and I don't want to let it go away.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ponzu.
Okay, cool.
Wait, Ponzu. So Joseph said, oh, snap, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. He says, I think the Tenko bit shows why it had to be Bakugo. Why are the heroes working so hard to save this dead kid when no hero ever tried to help me? I do think that's that is an excellent catalyst for the identity crisis. And if you think about it, it's after seeing them trying to like save what he destroyed that we see the internal Tenko's hair be white. So in a sense, watching another child almost be saved is reactivating the trauma and adding to that hatred that, Shig for one is like obsessed with, All for One is kind of obsessed with manifesting. And so we're kind of seeing that the Shimura is going to start merging with the overall personality here. And if you look at it, it even looks like as we zoom in, the hair gets lighter because you can see all the hands on them. And there's like somewhat dark patches, and that could just be, because we're far away, but
he's breaking out of the hands because in the previous chapters, the hands were covering him entirely. He was sunken in, breaking out. Also, that whole Bakugo thing, it actually adds to what we were saying a few streams ago, Aniki, when we were talking about like the connection between Shigaraki and Bakugo as characters, because there is something there between them. So now he's like, wow, so now you're even saving this kid over me? Like,
they're saving him because we did talk about that because it was like, look, both of them have a quirk that is hands of destruction ultimately. Both of them have anger issues. Both of them, have like the red eyes. Both of them have were effectively, to a certain degree, did have people that kind of like rejected them, depending on how you look at it. Like when Bakugo got in UA, like his lack of a hero's heart was constantly called into question, which I also like the fact that I do like the small detail that the stitch on Bakugo's heart is the X that goes over his, outfit. So it like still is complete technically. Small detail there. But so it's like and seeing somebody whose hands are made for destruction, fighting to protect and save, makes him have to question if this was the only path for him. Seeing them go out of their way to save this kid in the middle of combat when they could have utilized this as a chance to run away. They could have just focused on fighting and trying to kill him, knowing that Edshot is ultimately giving up his life for this child is in direct contradiction to everything he has tried to hold dear and believe about these situations, the entire story. And he's kind of being forced in real time to acknowledge and see the life I've had is one that I didn't have to have. Even with him having accidentally killed, his sister and accidentally killing his grandparents and purposefully killing, his father, like his mom being the one that we know he ultimately has the most regret for, which I think somebody else mentioned that the only person who could talk to Dobby would be Ray, because he still calls her mom. And I do think that Dobby genuinely sees Ray as a victim of abuse and not a perpetrator of it, interestingly enough. So there will be some interesting thing there where having Endeavor over all the other MHA characters is not a controversial take. It's a very common one. I would say like a solid 20% of MHA readers possibly feel that way, or at the very least have him as a top 5 character written in the series.
Yeah.
I might
So
trip him.
the thing for me, yes, I want to see the kids die. Why? Because they are kids in war. What do you expect when you bring kids in war? You take kid soldiers. Yes, some of them will die, for sure. That's what. No, for Bakugo, I wasn't expecting this at all. So the fact that he got his fake death got me, because it is also my favorite character. But if it was another character, another hero character that we grew up with, that we liked, I would have also be sad. But it is part of war. People die in war. That's the thing and people, sometimes we need to see that reality, that people die in war. And sometimes people are all in My Hero Academia, they always have had that aspect that everybody is his own protagonist in his life. The only one, the real protagonist is Deku, but still everyone thinks that they are the protagonist in their life. So to try to find something, a way to become better person, to find their way as a hero. And it is really important, and that's what we saw with what is her name? Ifon Jack, and I keep giving you give you names. We have seen these people growing and seeing them facing things that they shouldn't be facing normally at their age. There is causalities in that. Heroes that do their best. That's why the thing about the fact that I'm really sad that I don't think anything for the ninja hero. I forgot his name. Damn. Headshot. It's because I always loved his design. I always wanted to see stuff like him training Mineta and stuff, because the fact of the design, I always thought that Mineta would have been one of his students, and we got it, but we never had the chance to see that. That's sad. But the fact that he did it, what he did, the Storm is in character. He's one of the only characters that we saw that was a hero from the start. That he really gave attention to that fact that he's a hero, that he is a hero, and he fast through that he even thought, I'm gonna make a team to become better performer as a hero. That's the leader of that group, with the giant girl and everything. So this character, that's in character for him to try to save the only person that can damage Shigaraki. It's total in character, but I'm not feeling at all. I'm not feeling what I should have been feeling at this moment, because I didn't have enough time with him. And that is freaking sad because it is a good idea. When you think about it, that's a fucking good idea because it is a hero that is what we are seeing from the first page is heroism at its finest. They know they're gonna die, but they have to save this kid because kids should not die.
And I think one of the things that I will say is that I think Hori is trying to balance the story properly, because one of the things that I remember seeing somebody discuss with AOT and series like that, when we get into it, they're like, it got too depressing and I just didn't enjoy it after a while. It bored me. And I'll be honest and I'll say that I'm actually capable of hitting death fatigue, where if you kill off enough people, I stop caring. Specifically within the context of a story, because then at that point it's like, okay, yeah, cool, people dying is just like the vibe of this series, whatever. It's an aesthetic at this point. At that point, it becomes like, how well did you establish these characters? How well do I actually like them? And do I feel like their death actually serves a quality narrative purpose? For example, I watched Akame Got Killed.
Man, don't get me started.
Everybody and their mamas died in that show. God damn.
I did not actually feel like all the deaths were cool and like well for advancing the plot. The best death was probably like the first one to me.
I don't even remember the first one.
Bulat.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That one was done well, but it started turning into like, well, everybody and their mama dies, and it was
you
just like,
get
okay,
desensitized at a certain point. You're just like, all right, who's the next one? Make a bet.
Where it turns into that instead. So I don't want it to become that. And if you start, and that's why, and to a certain degree, I'm also, especially when it comes to the kids, I'm more invested in them losing the ability to be heroes than I am in them losing their lives. Because hero society and society as a whole has put such a strong emphasis on having quirks, the best quirks, being a hero, etc., that just dying, cool, you ain't got to deal with anything after that. That's the end of a character arc. You can just wrap it up, toss it away. It is a lot harder to create a satisfying ending for characters like Jiro getting maimed, for example, and then thinking about the song that she's gotten with Hero 2 creates a scenario where you can have her go back and still be, a support or a morale-based person who's focused now on doing music if she can't get a prosthetic ear or something like that to help enhance or offset the fact that she, lost one. And you have like characters that we can kind of see something else come out of them in their future and how they deal with their grief and translate that into something else and better function as a bridge between heroes and non-hero society. That is a more important narrative point to address and have people be like, well, just because she's a retired hero who was injured, who can't utilize her quirk in full capacity anymore, doesn't mean she can't find ways to make the world a better place for other people and have that focus. And so to dispel the idea that all heroes are just inherently superheroes exclusively, you need people who have lived in both worlds to carry out that mindset going forward in the story, or at least through the epilogue. Whereas if we just kill off a bunch of random kids because like the older generation, they're not the ones we're counting on to change this. And that's part of why we have, if you look back through the story, some of the main heroes that we've seen level up, or more importantly, if you look at the pro trio that we started following, Kamui Woods, Mount Lady, Death Arms, the oldest one, Death Arms, is the one who stepped down. Kamui Woods was considered like a rookie. Mount Lady was considered like a rookie, new up-and-comers who adapted and grew with the circumstances around them. And so for the thematic development of that and them having an understanding that they need to go beyond just that scope of money, finances, and fame is important. And to actually see that arc through is important. Whereas killing all the younger generation off, who are the people who are going to make those changes ultimately, does not see that arc through. It just makes it where it's like a bunch of people living their lives trying to atone for their dead friends. And that's nice, but it's something we've all seen before. Which is one of the reasons why I kind of want My Hero to have like at least a solid like 8 chapters of
Epilogue.
Yeah, I was reading something in the chat and got kind of distracted.
Is it okay if I give my final thoughts because I got to go?
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking about wrapping up this one earlier anyway. So
all right,
go ahead.
So thank you. So overall, I guess I'll start with the positive. The things that I'm most excited for, definitely Dobby, because I know some of y'all, if you don't want to admit it, it's okay. I know some of y'all thought he was out for the count. Y'all thought he was done, but my boy's back. He back and he come up with a vengeance. Okay, so I'm super excited to see what that has in store. Like, beautiful. Like, I'm just, especially with the contrast of Todoroki thinking, like, his words was reaching him. Like, he was like, nah, bro. And then the whole thing, like, I'm sorry, I find it so funny when Todoroki was like, oh my gosh, he was practicing this whole time. Like, nigga, what did you think he was doing? Just sitting around doing nothing? Like, of course he was practicing his quirk. And then to Flex be like, he was practicing this move for how long? Let me try that. And he did it. Amazing. Definitely excited for what Shigaraki is about to do. So overall, just I have the utmost excitement for what's to come. Again, with the whole edge shot thing, I think it's just, I think my biggest frustration with it, aside it kind of being like, you know what I mean, is because there was a perfect opportunity to implement his quirk and what it entails with the fight with what's his face? What's the man with no legs? I forget his name. What's his name?
Redestro.
Thank you. I think that somebody mentioned that and Firepoint, whoever said that, my bad, I forget who it was. But was oh, was it you? Never mind. I take everything back. I take it all back. That was a lie. But seriously though, like the fact that was such a perfect opportunity to explain and go in depth with what his quirk entails. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because ready to go. But maybe he realized, damn, I messed up on that. Because it's like right now, it's like we're getting an influx of what his quirk is being able to do. And I think it would have made much more sense had we seen that fight and delved into that more, that this would have been like, oh, okay, we know he's able to do something like that. Go in and because we have such a surface level knowledge of what his quirk entails. So I think if you were like, you read a bit more, because some of y'all have literacy. Let me not do that. But I think with the information that we got, it does kind of make sense that he's able to do this. But I think because of the stakes, right? And because of it being Bakugo specifically and like how urgent, like the way where he made that death, I'm not gonna lie. If we just saw him just the fatality, like that game, fatality, and then that was it, and then this happened, I think I would have been like, okay, cool. But I think because of how beautifully it was written, right? The whole thing with the card, all of that, and then to have this, I'm like, damn, like, you know what I mean? But I like to see now, I think also this also is pushing the heroes that are there to kind of step up, because overall, let me not lie, this entire war arc, let's move Endeavor to the side for a bit. The kids are the ones doing everything. Like, I don't know what these other heroes are doing. It's the kids, okay? Deku, obviously, we know he's going to have an important impact. Ochako out here doing, Todoroki's out here doing his thing, Kaminari. All of them are basically really being the front runners of this when there's literally grown-ass heroes just sitting there like ducks, not doing shit. You know what I mean? So I think this was also like a double-edged thing where, yeah, sure, just remove the Bakugo and edge shot shit for a minute. It's like, it's also kind of like a push for the heroes that are there right now to actually step up and do something. So now we're seeing Miracle go in, but I think it's definitely going to be short-lived because we know Shigaraki about to do something next chapter. So yeah, that's overall my overall thoughts. I got to go. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.
So let me say Saya's point. Because she texted me her stuff. So because I don't feel like running for 30 minutes to close out the stream, saying what I got to say in her stuff. So let me say her stuff before we go back. All right, y'all. This is Saya's thought. She texted me because she won't be here today. She said, I like the chapter. Edshot's power is awesome, though I think it's a bit convenient. He just has a wash bubble around, which also makes me wonder if all the years before he just risked infecting his opponents. Fair enough. I'm glad we now know that. I'm glad we now know what will happen to him about his life force slowly depleting. It's like Horikoshi is answering all the questions we had last week regarding this move, and parentheses, both the disinfection and how he will die. I'm not surprised America now picking up the pace and trying to do the job left to her. I didn't really expect her to survive for long and still don't, but with her losing more and more limbs, maybe we'll also end up with a limbless retired America as another possibility, which I'm honestly not sure how to feel about. Like, she already lost so many limbs. At this point, it seems pretty shocking to make her lose even more, whether or not she dies in the end. I'm expecting Headshot to do something too eventually. I mean, Genius do something too eventually. He's been kind of passing for a while now. Lastly, Shiggy. Don't know what to say about that, but he seems to be forming his family, question mark. Tinko having more influence at this point seems scary before, especially with Deku insisting on saving Tinko. There was a chance that Tinko may be a good influence on Shiggy, but he seems rather unhinged and destructive. So I'm not sure if calling out to and hoping for Tinko to emerge will have desired effect if Deku truly tries to go that route. Those are Seiya's thoughts on the chapter. Like I said, niggas tried to absolve Tinko of all his fucking shit.
Yeah, I agree with her thoughts about Tenko fully now. Like I'm looking at that Deku confrontation in a whole different light now because that's not the Tenko he wanted to see.
No, I think that was one of the things we talked about too when he started snapping. It was like, oh, we thought Tenko was like possibly the way to save Shigaraki, and now it's like, no, of the three personalities inside of Shigaraki, that is the most dangerous one because he has the emotional maturity of a 5-year-old. And he cannot cope with this. He can't actually deal with the shit he's doing, but he also can't deal, like, he just can't deal with anything almost.
Oh, yeah, like, I forgot to say that too. Like how he was saying, like how he responded to Mirio, the friend comment, like, bro, you are aware of everything happening right now. And now this chapter cemented that even more. He knows he just killed Bakugo. He doesn't feel bad about it. Like
I told you, that motherfucker's a menace.
Do you know who Tenko reminds me of now that I just said he can't deal with that? Krona from Soul Eater. Like, just unhinged, completely unprepared emotionally, and ultimately gonna be a source of a massive amount of destruction. Which I don't expect him to get sealed in the moon, like, or anything like that. But the reality of this situation though is just kind of, Tenko is going to be the biggest problem because at this point he's going to basically be playing Minecraft on God mode, and just kind of doing as he sees fit.
They better pray to God this Tenko shit is resolved.
It really is Minecraft on God mode, yo. He's using this overpowered body to do crazy shit.
They better pray to God that Tenko shit is resolved before he gets his quirks back. Because if you let that nigga go crazy with quirks too, oh nah, he might. Fuck off one having years of experience in Shigaraki being creative too. Can you, bro? You know what a child's creativity can do? Match with unrivaled anger.
Legitimately, like a child's mind, what they mean, how they be playing with toys and shit.
Bro, bro, put a grown ass man. No, put a 25-year-old on Minecraft. Put a grown ass man on Minecraft, and then put a fucking child, a 10-year-old on Minecraft. Let's see what they do. I guarantee you, one of the 10-year-old had the hardest shit you ever seen in your life.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna say this. Have you ever seen a 5-year-old play GTA? Because that's Tenko.
Nigga.
Like, I don't know about y'all, but I played GTA 3, especially San Andreas, Vice City, and I was playing that game when I was like 8. Let me see when San Andreas came out, just because I don't want to cap accidentally.
Yeah, I was a Saints Row 2 kid. I used to go crazy on that game when I was younger.
Let's see.
Big Smoke, ACJ.
When did all right, so it came out in 2004, so I was like 11. But like, which GTA 3 came out before that, so that kind of explains why it's like all blended together. But you could hand me a controller, a printed off piece of paper from the library covering the cheats.
Bro, Cheat Code Planet.
Because back in the day, I don't know about you young bloods out here, if y'all remember that or not, but you could go to the library, wherever, like get a Pokemon guide, etc., get an actual paper, and be like, hold on, I gotta left, right, down, R1, L1, R2, L2 squared. Yeah, bro, you have to be like da. Like,
yeah, I wish Nafisa was still here because she says that she used to do that shit all the time.
Like, understand that, like, and the thing is, fatalities was the same way in Mortal Kombat. Like, if you wasn't putting in like 15 buttons within that finish him 15 second moment, if you messed up even one of those inputs, you probably wasn't getting your fatality off. Nope, too late. You got to go do all the buttons all over again.
Nigga be sad as hell, but like, man, I'm about to run this shit back real quick. I'm about to beat the nigga.
But yeah, the codes still work for the San Andreas reskin. That's good to know. But man, I kid you not, I would purposely get up to 5 stars in San Andreas. And it's important that you get 5 stars and not 6. The reason why I say that is because when you get 6 stars in San Andreas, the army comes out and you get tanks and stuff, and they kind of slow. But if you have 5 stars, what happens is you get FBI SUVs chasing after you, and they will go fast as hell. So it's like, that's what Tanko is, though. Somebody who's playing with the wanted level, trying to get the hardest challenge, and like out here pulling out an RPG and all kind of other stuff, just blowing stuff up left and right. That's what Tanko was going to be with these quirks. And if you think back to like when Shigaraki first woke up and he had All for One, and he was like cycling through, he was like, here we go. This one. This should be a good combo. They made it sound like this man was flipping through his guns list and his weapons menu, like, no, not the M16, not the AK. Oh yeah, let me get a pistol for this one.
Yo, the thing about that too, because he has that little bit of All for One in him, so he knows all the quirks. Like, you know what I'm saying? His brain already knows what these quirks can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a crazy, like, I can't wait until this whole fusion thing is completely settled so I can see what it's supposed to be, because it's shaping up to be something like truly spectacular. Like
it really is. Like this final form shit, we're gonna have All for One gone. They're just gonna have the knowledge. Then we're gonna have our Shigaraki complete. Like I feel like it'll be our Shigaraki, be a new Shigaraki. It won't be the same Shigaraki, but it'll be like if Shigaraki evolved like he was supposed to without all this hindrance, other shit. Because then, like, you know, the Tinkle shit, even if they fuse or Tinkle goes away, it's like releases himself. At the end of the day, it's still gonna be like tomorrow. It's gonna be the nigga we know, and not this whole ugly fusion shit. Like it's gonna be a complete person, and it's gonna be our nigga at the end of the day, which is what I can't wait to see for a multitude of reasons, from every reason under the sun, for him being whole. So I can't wait to see what this nigga finna do. It's just like it's gonna be fucking crazy, bro. Like, yeah, he gonna have a new form. I can't wait to see what it look like, you know, so to speak.
Oh yeah, and we got a break next week, y'all. If y'all don't know,
Thank God, boy. Woo! Telling you what,
he needs a break. Listen. I said this. I'm gonna say this on stream too, because I've been saying this in the server lately. Horikoshi a stubborn ass nigga, because there's no way that Oda gets a big break, Tabata gets a big break, and Gege gets a big break, and he wasn't offered one at the very least. I just think he didn't want to take it. Especially like since this is like the final act, they definitely offered him a break. I really just don't think he wanted it. Like he pushing himself a little too much.
Then he said that year shit too, so you know he acted mad goofy, knowing damn well that shit was never going to work.
Especially because of that year comment. It's probably his pride. He's probably like, nah, I said I was going to do this year. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing, bro. You know, nigga, you knew damn fucking well all this shit you had packed in here. And you doing runbacks, you know damn well at its face value, we already knew this shit wasn't gonna end in no year. All the runbacks you started doing, and you had to make everything complicated and add layers and jump like this, and unilateral fucking zigzag Z. Like, all right, nigga, you knew damn well what the fuck you was gonna do.
Well, like take a break, my nigga. Like take a month break, do like, you know what I'm saying? Get your mind right, get right. Like,
ooh, Tanisi, your girl, your birthday coming up, girl. Okay. We don't forget that. All right, everybody say happy almost birthday. Hey, happy early birthday to Denise. Oh, wait. Everybody shout that.
It's gonna be Tanisha's birthday.
She said, "Well, after the break on September 14th."
All right. Make sure y'all give her that support and love. She became a quick regular who came in, does her mod duty well when people get out of pocket in the chat. We got to make sure we send her that love and appreciation.
Faithfully comes every week. We appreciate it. You were good.
Oh, that reminds me, because I said it while I was on earlier in the stream, and I was like, "Oh, the next chapter is looking like it's coming out on a Monday," but I work for a shift now. So on the 19th, do y'all want to do a night stream?
On the 9th,
because before that wasn't possible. I couldn't do that because I was working second shift. But now.
That day. Oh, so we could do Monday stream for the breaks now.
Yeah, we could. I'll just come home at like 6:30 Central Time, and we can be on and popping at like 8. or 7.
Yeah, I should be good that day, 19th.
So yeah, we can just do a Monday night stream. It might not be as long, but you know.
Mm-hmm. And you gotta tell Thomas to feel better. He wasn't feeling well, he said.
Yeah,
Shit, man, my boy Thomas is not feeling good. Nah, see, we all need this break. Even though I'm gonna try to do a more thorough breakdown and explanation on what I expect out of season 6 video at least. Night stream, if we do that, it'll probably be around 1830 to 1900 Central Time. So I don't know, US Central Time. So you can kind of look and see where that shakes out for you. That would be about 20 or 8 o'clock p.m. for Tarnish and East. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, let's start the wrap up though, just because this chapter, it's weird because like we're going on break and this chapter doesn't feel like, this almost feels like a break that he was made to take, because this is a good cliffhanger point, but this isn't the kind of cliffhanger point that makes you go like, dog. It's more like, all right, so what the hell's coming next? That's kind of how I felt about that. But yeah, let's just go around the horn real quick. Ponzu, final thoughts on the chapter? Is Ponzu here? Yes, Ponzu is not here.
Yeah, he's muted right now.
All right, we're gonna wait a little bit longer. And all right, Tarnish, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. You know, I've already swallowed my pride on the Ed Shah Bakugo thing. He's getting revived. It is what it is. Anybody still on that copium that, oh, this whole thing from Ed Shah is gonna fail? No, it's not. It's not gonna fail. That would just be a waste of everybody's time if it failed. He coming back. I hope when he comes back, it really is the rebirth of Dynamite, and he's on Demon Tommen. And if he's not on Demon Tommen, then you know what I'm saying, then we get in a part 2, because you can't just waste everything that happened with him. And I like that Shigaraki Tomura is being shown now in the merge, because, you know, it's been mostly All for One. Like, you know, we've gotten All for One flashbacks, the All for One S dialogue. You know, we could piece together that certain things with Shigaraki, but now I'm liking that it's being shown like clearly, like, no, Tomura is still there. He still wants to destroy stuff. The itch is still a factor. All of that is still there. It hasn't gone nowhere. So that's good. The miracle stuff, I like the action, but I don't know. It might just be me. Like, I'm just really tired of this character for some reason. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just seeing her come around saying the same things that she said before, like, oh, I'll die when I want to die, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to live my life with regrets. Like, you know, we already heard those bars before. So just hearing them again, I'm just like, you know, regular miracle stuff. But, you know, I'm just burnt out from her. And she should have died a good 3 times by now, to be honest. That might be another thing taking me out, because she's been in some jams that she's just gotten out of somehow. Need Genus to step up, because, you know, if these meat puppets are going to just be messing things up, then we need somebody to subdue them. He's the guy for that. I need the big 3 to step back in the mix. You know, Mirio did his blinding little maneuver. That was dope, helping Miracle out. Sun Eater seemed like he ate a finger. Nejire is still all 4 on the floor in total defeat. Needs to come, because she was actually putting in work at first. She was putting in some work. So she might actually be reaching her cap now that I'm thinking about it, because we know her quirk drains her life force. So she can't fight forever. Mm-hmm. So whenever she does step back in the mix, it might be like her final play type shit, because she's been out for a little minute. And Tenko, I like that he's becoming more and more like Shigaraki. Like, he's getting the white hair. He's thinking about things that happened to him, because everything that happened with his family and that old lady on the street, Tomura had forgotten about that for a majority of his life. So that's mainly Tenko's memories. So, you know, those coming back into play, him using his new body to create these constructs. It's like, literally, he's using his perfect quirk singularity body to do things like this, like, because he's a child. And he's like, you know what? I could just recreate my family. Like, why not? I got the body to do it. Like, there's so much power inside of this body. It's it just amazes me more and more, like what he's able to do, creating the mouths, the eyes, all that shit. Now you can create bodies. Like he can definitely create a second brain. I'm gonna keep saying that until we get that little cliffhanger of him getting his head destroyed and it not meaning anything. It's gonna happen. But I met great chapter on itself, you know. And I swallowed my pride on the headshot shit. You know, it is what it is. If you keep complaining about it, you're gonna keep getting yourself mad. The moment done already passed. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't hitting. Still not hitting, but I'm gonna read the story and see what happens with it because you know what I'm saying? I love this manga. And that's it.
All right. Walkins?
I really don't have too much to say. Chapter is all right. My initial reaction was very negative, but I think through time I've actually kind of come around to a lot of things. I don't know. It's just all right. You know, I'm glad Horikoshi's gonna have a bit of a break because I think he kind of needs it. One thing I don't think we've really touched on is that these have been very short chapters recently. Um, so I don't know if there's anything going on or anything. I don't know. I don't want to speculate or assume anything, but man needs to take a break. Go ahead and take a break. Maybe, you know, think about where everything's going and I don't know, come back strong and all that. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have too much to say about it. I think I kind of with Tarnish, where it's just like, yeah, headshot things happening. You know, no sense in continuing to really talk about it because it just is what it is. You know, I'm still here on this ride. I'm still gonna keep going with MHA, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next, especially with these like flesh clones coming out. I know I'm in the theory camp of thinking that maybe each one's going to have a different quirk. Um, I don't know if Shigaraki's going to give it to them or because that would show some sort of control with this new. Um, I kind of want to say evolution, but yeah, I'll just go with evolution for right now. So like with this new evolution of Shigaraki, like he doesn't really have control over this type of power yet. So maybe them just having some sort of random quirk, like, oh, this one has fire, this one can do something with water, like something basic where they could still like do something and still get in the way of the heroes. I do like the idea of maybe one or two of them going down underneath and causing chaos down there. Maybe that leads into Yue Gashima falling from the sky. I don't know, something like that. But you know, I'm glad Horikoshi has a break again. I think I kind of need a break too a little bit to kind of get my mind back with MHA too. But overall, you know, everything was fine. Everything was good. Yeah, just looking forward to that next chapter and hopefully more things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Archbishop East.
Oh shit.
Wait, Bonzu?
Yes.
Oh, final thoughts.
Oh, final thoughts. First thing first, the chapter was good. We got narrative. When you think about the narrative, how everything was displayed, I like it. Like I said, it is just harmful, hateful for me that I don't feel what I know that I should have feel right now if I had known more of if I had spent more time with Headshot, because the way that it is written, it is good. In my eyes, the way that it is written, how the saving was done, the dialogues, everything was good. It's just like we needed the setup, the time with the character. That's what was missing to make it okay. It's good. It's understandable. We love it. We feel something for the character. It's not a. I love Headshot. Like I said, I like Headshot. I was always a fan of about him, but I didn't have for that kind of stuff. I didn't have enough time with him to have this emotion connection that I should have right now. I should be thankful for him to say Bakugo, but I don't feel that because yes, this time it feels more like it is trying to make something wrong beautiful. There's a weird feeling, but yeah. Then the Shigaraki stuff, great. We see now that Shigaraki is questioning himself. These three characters that he has in his head are starting to clash in each other more, because at one moment you felt that the Awful One side was trying to take over, was more and more taking over, but now we feel that since that Le Millions talked to him, there is more and more of Tenko that shows up now with the meat puppets. I don't know if it will be meat puppets or not, but you see that Tenko still is affecting the whole fight. So and Mirko, she's fucking scary right now. She gave her fucking arm. I don't know which. I think it is how she had the rope around her with on her other arm. I don't know how she did it, or if it was.
Oh, Genius helped her. Genius
that was a
helped
Genius assist.
Genius helped her.
Yeah, that's where the carbon fiber thing goes. So,
and she was running like a rabbit, like a raged beast, man. It is scary. She's scary as hell, this woman. Man, watch out for crazy women. Watch out, niggas. Protect yourself. Don't put your being crazy. Really. You never know what can happen.
That's
So,
real
yeah.
respect. Real respect for Ponzo just said, don't think with your dick, think with your brain. That's what he just said.
Yes. So watch out. I love it. I love everything. This chapter was a good chapter. It is an 8 on 10 for me. Allez, how it was, if you take the chapter on itself, how it was portrayed and everything, it is a beautiful chapter. I really love. I'm a fan of heroism, so it is really well shown in this chapter, and how people, when they want to fight for a cause and they believe in it, they go 100% to it. And how they, I really love the fact that Headshot was saying for Miko, Belginis, keep doing the work. It like this positive energy around so much chaos and hell. Literally, they're fighting the demon lord. They're losing arms, losing life, kids dying, and they're there. They're the example for the kids. The kids are watching them fighting. So if they die, they will have the example to follow. Omat was so beyond reach for these kids, and we get the example right now of what a hero should do when they are human. Human, if you understood what I mean. So they're losing arms and they're still fighting. So the heroism aspect that we saw with All Might when he fought All for One is still there too. It's really beautiful. So 8 on 10 for me. It's just sad that it had the Bakugo death is that one setup was just one setup. The headshot aspect would have been done previous in the story, just 2 chapters with him. It should have been better. It would have been better. That's what I think right now. It's sad. It's a missed opportunity. But yeah, it is my final thoughts. Thank you, and I will see you soon. Bye.
All right. Now, Archbishop East.
All right, everyone. We've been here for quite a while. I'm also very tired, and this is the last one we have to go out, so I'll let you know when I yell. But Thoughts about this chapter? I've already made my peace with the headshot shit. Like I said, I can remove myself. I'm never leaving this nigga horror. Like I told you, to the wheels fall off to the end. I don't really give a damn about if part two comes true or not. That's not about pride. Whatever horror coach decides is the best decision. And then all I care about is justice to my villains. That and horror coach believes he can do that. He can do that. Like I said, till the wheels fall off. If I said I got you, my nigga, I got you. That's what my fucking word is, my bond, nigga. So as far as the chapter concerned, I wasn't a fan of how he portrayed Bakugo doing that and then bring him back. But an overall arcing thing, like I said, fuck that nigga from 5-10 years from now when the story's complete and they get to binge it and all in one flow makes perfect sense to you. So I understand, like I said, I understand why he's come back and what he's doing for more so like that. There'll be more so reasons. This even adds to the later arc of like survivor guilt. And that like Anki said, Survivor Guilt go burr shit. That just adds for part two for me more because there's more agency to his character and what he needs to do and stuff like that. Shot should have got more, but hey man, honestly, it's what I asked for. The heroes doing what they need to do, and like they risking tooth and nail, getting injured, this, that, and other, fucked up, all this, that shit. Miracle, I understand. I already know why Tarnish really felt the way he feel because she should all them niggas had her been dead. She should have been dead, but she's still here. She's still kicking. It's like I said, I respect these niggas doing what they got to do, giving tooth and nail. And honestly, about saying that, I do realize at the end of the day, whenever y'all say stuff about this field, nobody's getting a W on this field, right? Like a solid win victory at the fight. Yeah, I do realize like he's going to regenerate at the end of the day. So I like to take pride in what anybody has done and contribute it and put their neck out. How are we going to slander these fucking niggas that ran from the fight? But then these niggas that's sticking up to the demon god and not backing down, even if it didn't amount to changing, crippling him down and bringing his health down 1%, I still respect what Sonny did. I still respect the niggas for what they do. All right. This is that. I'm loving niggas doing what they gotta do, man. So hey, look, I asked for some of this shit, so I'm gonna eat it. And I'm not gonna. And then as far as Bakugo's thing, the heroes are all shout out. So as far as headshots concerned, I see now that more so rather than the kids, it's gonna be the heroes dying and sacrificing their lives. So for future reference, shout out to Fat Gun, Kamui, and Mount Lady and Orca. I got them saying bye bye to the dust. That the heroes are going to be giving their lives for the new generation and stuff like that. So yeah, I shout respect to Ed shot and shit. Definitely hype for all the Shigaraki Tenko shit because I've been waiting to get Mega Moon, all this bullshit over with. I see now the vision of why we had to do here. We're definitely not cutting away because you might as well revive this nigga and start keeping the ball rolling so we can get everything in Act 2 now. So we don't have to come back until Act 3 and then everything flows perfectly. So right now it's just once again growing pains. Fuck that nigga from 10 years from now reading the shit to complete. So with that being said, it was a good chapter overall. Now here's where I get loud. So y'all got about 5 seconds. Y'all got about 4 seconds. Y'all got about 3 seconds. Y'all got about 2 seconds to turn down your volume. Y'all got about 1 second to turn down your volume. And timer's up. It's time to get loud. So hope your volume's down. Don't blame me. Even in the darkest of hours, as we crawl through the darkness, at the end of the tunnel, there will always be light. And that light is nothing short of hope. And as long as we have hope, as long as we keep moving forward, no matter if we trip, we stumble, we fall, as long as we have hope in this darkness, we keep getting up, we keep moving forward, we keep pressing onward, no matter what. In the end, we will all win because Horikoshi is that nigga. Forgive all the sins and wash all the blood away. We come again to play every single day. I have not lost faith. I never will. Horikoshi is the GOAT, and you niggas know the drill. Keep it moving. Keep it pushing. I appreciate every single one of y'all for coming to this shit. We will see y'all in 2 weeks when we're back at it for a nighttime stream. So y'all know what it do. It's Undefeated of the East, and I appreciate y'all for coming to the Church of MHA. We'll keep y'all a different time. See you.
All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody that came through, of course. You already know I actually enjoyed this chapter. I'm enjoying what we set up for. Definitely know that I'm not looking at this the same way a lot of people are, but that's okay because I was all right. I said it in the chat. I'll say here. I kind of thought the death was ass, so I'm kind of glad that we went this direction, even though a lot of people aren't. And like I do mean that I kind of felt like the death was straight up ass. I was just trying to be nice about it when it came out because I'm trying not to be like super mean about that kind of stuff, or like when I'm like nah, this shit sucked. But
2 packs of ass.
no, like genuinely, like I was reading it, like I remember, and I was kind of like, cool action sequence, fun. I like this flashback, but if he actually dies, it's kind of dog shit. Was kind of how I felt inside. But I was like, maybe we can get something to build it up a little bit. So like anytime I'm like, oh, maybe something else that can also be code for, yeah, this is average at best. So I'm glad that the story is going in a direction that I think will be more fulfilling narratively and isn't just guided by the rule of cool, more or less. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But and yeah, like pairing it with Sun Eater's L and stuff, it was just like the whole thing was like, no, this is a terrible death. Because then it was like, how is anybody going to survive then if we're actually going to kill this character off? Everybody should just be dead. So it just didn't make sense to me. But that's all right. We're in a direction now where either you'll be able to get on board or not. I do think that part of why people are going to be upset, though, is because MHA as a fandom, we actually don't have a lot of power scalers. And this is a discussion that we had in the Discord a couple of weeks ago, where I was like, over almost a year ago, Bakugo got his spine almost severed in half by All Might and was still getting up and able to fight. So to me, we've already had an established precedent of All Might breaking this nigga down and him still fighting. We see Miracle losing limbs and still fighting. It would be weirder if Bakugo couldn't get up after getting jump started, if with everything established as far as power scaling goes. But My Hero fans as a whole, we usually focus more on the story, which I'm appreciative of. It just so happens that if we had a bit more power scale and discourse in our community, some of this stuff would line up a bit better. But that's all right. Hope you all enjoy it. I'll try to get something out over the next 2 weeks, but I won't promise anything just in case because life is busy. Hope you all enjoy stuff. Have a nice week.